Alright. I'm crazy. My baby. That's so stanky. Hey, Lara. Hey, Goof. Hey, PT. What's going on, guys? Hey. What's going on, guys? What's going on? What's going on? Life going? How you guys doing today? Oh, Jesus. I'm doing well. Did you send the thing that you was having trouble with? Are you still having trouble figuring that out? You're a woman. Hey, skeleton, what's going on? Okay. Fair enough. Hold on. Hello. Yep. I don't do that fanboy nonsense, so no, I do not do it. Especially willingly. It's tough. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey man, what's going on? I'm so annoyed if this is copyrighted. I swear to God, this all better not be copyrighted. Crochet, do that crochet in. All right, let me zoom in a little bit more. There you go. Okay. Actually, you know what? I think I don't do it that way. It looks kind of flat. I think if I make more sense of it, I'll do it this way. Curve it like this. This. Okay. Yeah. 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 XPPen E22. It's a XPPen. Yeah, you saw you took your horror. Yeah. You shouldn't eat in here. Him too. You guys forget things in here. Too much. You need a whole key in here with water, liquid, everything. You took that with you, did you? Did you drink that? Yeah. I hit my hand around that. Not on purpose, but I realized it was right there. So last night, that's your fault. Close the door, leave. Yeah, but XPPen E22 Pro. That was good. I'm special. No, I don't think it should be that big. I'm thinking it now. So, what situation? Champagne, all done, trapped on Super Bowl. How's everyone today? I hope you guys are having an awesome day. We're going to do the creepypasta thing in a couple of minutes or so. I'm waiting for everyone to get in here. I'm giving everyone till like 5 o'clock. Then we're gonna start the pre-processing thing. It's 4:21, so that's enough time for everyone to get in here by time, so they don't miss the creepypasta thing. It's an hour long, so while I work. So if you guys are looking forward to the creepypasta we was doing yesterday, you got till 5 o'clock or so. One later or so. Cut that. All right. I'm doing a Gachiakuta animatic. Let me see. The fattest ass.
So where do you want to eat? Let me guess. Taco Bell.
What's that?
It's a flash that was supposed to. It's just coconut water. I can't act bad because my hands are greasy.
You couldn't open it?
No.
Oh my god. Alright. That's good. Yep. Why is that so shocking to most people? I think majority of most of the population plays video games somewhere down the line. Like more than 85%. I am drawing Simiu. Doomsday 2. Let me see here. I don't really have a favorite game, to be honest. I'm starting to come to that conclusion as time goes by. I don't really have a favorite game. Hold on real quick. I need to do something real quick. Let me see here. Oh. I used to. Did a sponsorship for them. But I stopped playing that a long time ago. I'm too far behind to play that. Too far behind to play something like that. I ain't gonna lie to you. What's your question? Hold on, I'm trying to get something. Oh, really? That's good. I'm glad that you like it. I'm glad that you like it. Okay. There you go. That's what I was trying to do. Alright, do your thing. No, I don't. I'm not really familiar with that dandy. I think that's a. Isn't that a horror game? I'm not totally sure. It's like a Muppet looking character. The way I said that. No problem, Kyla. You're welcome, hon. Oh wait, you know what? Before you go, are you still here? What is it exactly? I don't know. Columbia? The place? Yeah, I've never been there, but I'm familiar with what that is. Walk on every day, every night, every morning. Yeah, maybe it's that's probably a Genshin characters far down the line. Unless I don't remember the actual name. I don't think she was one of the starter characters. There you go. How'd you like it? You can't go wrong. I'm not really. Okay. Thank you, but to answer your question, I can't really particularly tell you what tablet is the best for beginners because I think they're all usually good. I think it's the best brand you go with is XPPen, Hudon, and Wacom. I would say out of the three, the best two is Wacom or like XPPen. I've been using XPPen all my life. I never used Wacom before, but they're just as good. I think they've been there before XPPen. I think XPPen's been second best, or came in second. But the one that I have is the XPPen 22 Pro, and the sponsorship I did on TikTok for them was XPPen 13.3 Pro. It's smaller than the one I have, but it does good job. But you do need a computer to use it, so you can't just like plug it into the wall or something and start using it. You have to you need a computer to use it. So if that's a big loss on your behalf, or if you're a person that's always on the go, maybe those won't be the good for you. But if you want to get something that's more on the go, I would get like a iPad. I think I don't know if they still sell those. So I'm pretty sure XPPen has some portable ones, but like I always believe the ones with the desktops are way superior compared to the ones that you have to have a portable and just walk around with and stuff, because I think they have less power and stuff. But I think that's just opinion bias on my behalf. But there's no real loss in any of them you pick, because majority of most people are going to pick the one with the screen. They're not going to pick the one with no screen, because for obvious reasons. So you can't go wrong with none of them. They all really work pretty much usually the same. And if you're worrying about like the settings and putting the settings together, I just plug in my damn thing and use it. I don't do all that setting stuff. Like, yeah, I don't have the problems with the settings. Like, I don't really mess with them at all. If ever, rarely. It's very rare. Very, very, very rare. If I ever mess with settings, it was once out of the 7 years I've been using XPPen. But I never really fuck with the settings, if that's what you're asking. Hope that answers your question. Every morning. I know what that is. What do you mean is this real? Fuck. Dude, you're in the streaming area. What kind of question is that? Hello. Hey, Silver. We're gonna start the creepypasta reaction at 5 o'clock. It's 4:31. I'm waiting for everyone to get in here. Yep, I can. We have to pay for that. Yep. I know what that is. I already seen it. Okay. Okay. Oh wait, hold on. Okay. All right. Hey, Mass, what's going on? Go. All right, that's pretty good. This part needs to be a little more pushed up. Yeah, I think this needs to be pushed in a little bit. Okay, there we go. Oh, they wrap around. There we go. Hello, Sahara Desert. What's going on? How's your day? Where's my... Oh, fuck. Ah! Gotta grab for the thing. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this in. That's a little bit better. Just felt so... Oh, 501. It's 4:36. Oh wait, maybe your time frame will be different from mine. Because it's 4:36 right now. Alright. That'll be better. I ain't complaining too much. Better a good day than a bad one. 501. We're gonna do the creepypasta stuff, guys. So look out for that. We're gonna continue from last creepypasta video. Yeah. Shit. There you go. Sometimes I need, sometimes I you, sometimes I me, sometimes I you. Yeah, I don't know if that's actually Jeremy still. Like, even though he has all the markings and stuff, I still don't think that's Jeremy, because we saw him burn like crazy. So like, how did all his injuries get all healed? Yeah, I would have left it right there. He's fine now. He seems to be fine. I wouldn't pick him up. Yeah, because there's no way he's like... Well, it's one thing. How did he get there in the first place? Because he was in the river. Something either picked him up and put him there, like the monster. Or he was possessed and was led there, just like how Felix was. And he was possessed at one point. And he was in the basement. So there's so many speculation on how that went down. So this one, just to let you know, the third version is going to be an hour long. The other one was like 30 minutes. Ooh, probably. You might be right. Hello, hello, hello. What's going on? Okay, like that. No problem. Alright, I'll look at it a bit. Get that a bit. Hello. Alright, do your thing. No problem. Nope. Nope. Oh, that actually made a difference in the face. Nope, I am not watching anime. All right. go. Yep. I am finishing up my animatic. No, I'm doing an animatic from an anime. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. Almost there. Almost there, boys. We're almost there. I don't know why, I don't know why. I don't know why, I don't know why, I don't know why. Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm gonna grab this, push this in, like that. Push this up. And then grab this. Yeah, what's up, Bagel? why, I don't know why. I don't know why, I don't know why, I don't know why. Yeah, in what way? How? I don't know why, I don't know why, I don't know why. After fire, I will drop that one. Ah, shit. Are you talking about like physically? Are you talking about physically? Hospital. Are you saying this crazy things, or are you being good sir? Probably just saying crazy things. I'm not really sure what you mean, but the whole like killing and stuff. Question is, why are you telling me this? That's the real question. Yeah. Better help. I'm sure why you're telling me. Or what I can do, to be honest. Who is that? Cosmo? Wait. Cosmo from Lineart Pens? What the hell? That's weird. That's weird. I don't know how to feel with that. Very strange. Oh, they are both goofy. Not lying. That's the only similarity. What the hell? Yeah, I bet. Nice after that.
One shot, one opportunity. Just let us go. His arms are sweaty, 3 sweet arms are heavy. His vomit on his sweater already.
Mom spaghetti.
He's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking out, everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, black. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Choke, he's so mad, but he won't give up. That is he knows, he won't have it, he knows. His whole back to his ropes, it don't matter, he's broke. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so sad, but he knows. And he goes back to his mobile home. Back to his back to the rap again. His own back to the man. Go back to this moment, this moment, this moment.
Wait for the day, for the nights are so wasted.
Hated or discriminated against. I've been protested and demonstrated against. Picket signs for my picket lines. Look at the time, change the lines. One motherfucking deepest behind. All this commotion, emotions, my deepest oceans explode. Different screaming from parents.
Hey there, what's going on?
Not taking nothing from no one. People have long as I'm breathing. Kicking ass in the morning and taking names on people. Kicking ass in the morning and taking names on people. Kicking ass in the morning and taking names on people. Take the sound, it's been tripping and not. See them tripping me. Fucking never figure me out. See them tripping me. Fucking never figure me out. See them tripping me. Fucking never figure me out. Figure me out.
No, he's not. Did you say what you need to send, Lyra? sure. Someone asked me this question. I still gotta figure out. I think it would be the gift that's around my wrist. It'll be the bracelet I have, but that'll turn to like probably fists, like boxing gloves or some shit, or a rail gun on my arm, something like that. Something like Mega Man or something. Look cool looking. Yeah, maybe that. Hold on. Lost wiki. Jellyfish pendant. What did that turn into? Very curious to know. Where the fuck is... Okay. Always gotta do it manually. All the time. Oh, and I did see the newest episode of Sentence to Be Hero. The latest one. Hello, Miss Stupidity. Hello, Miss Smarts. You got smarts. You're not stupid. I don't know why you named yourself that. I am doing an animatic. I brings animatic for our future content. Yep. And then at 5 o'clock, oh, it's 5:01. Okay, after this song, we're gonna do the creepypasta segment. Oh yeah, familiar with Gachiakuta, huh? Benders. See it. Okay, almost there. Did you? Okay. Where you signing? Okay, now we're gonna jump on the. We're gonna. Oh God, things coming here. We're gonna jump on the creepypasta segment. All right, let's do this. We're on to the finale. What's gonna tie up everything at this point? I don't know if this. I don't know if this series is like going, but like so far, I think this is tying up the loose ends of everything. All right, let's see what we can do here. All right, warning for those who are, just let you guys know, some of the stuff that's going to be mentioned here might be a bit disturbing. So if you are queasy and don't like very insane things, I suggest you jump out of here, or just ignore it as best as you can and watch the artwork flow. Now, this is from part 3 from yesterday when we was doing our creepypasta segment. You guys really seem to like it, so I'll be doing that more often with the creepypasta reactions. So we're starting off from our last endeavor. So let's see where this goes. So this is from Grief. He has 200,000 subscribers. For those who want to know who that is, his name is Grief, Grief. So check him out if you want to watch more of his creepypasta segments. It says here, the gruesome Stagtown finale. Stagtown Explained, Part 3.
Hello friends, this is Grief speaking. Today we're continuing our journey through Stagtown. As you've noticed, this is a big video. That's because we're wrapping up the rest of the entire
Just let you guys know, this is an hour long, so this is gonna be insane.
Series.
Unlike the other ones.
Some of the coolest, creepiest, and downright disturbing parts of Stagtown, in my opinion, actually happen in the latter half of the series. So buckle up as we unravel the mystery of Stagtown and put an end to this nightmare. If you happen to miss my first 2 videos on Stagtown, you can click the link to go there first, and I'll make a playlist to keep everything in order. As I said, we have a ton to cover here, so let's not waste any more time and get right into it. This is Stagtown Explained, Part 3. Chapter 11, Long Haul. It's now wintertime. Weeks have gone by since Felix and Frankie escaped the mines with Jeremy. After Felix's apartment caved in from the sinkhole, the only place to go back to is Frankie's apartment, which is a bit cramped. Jeremy is in terrible condition, but they don't want to bring him to a doctor since they can't really trust anyone in town. It's clear that the entity under Stagtown now controls most of the residents after entering the water supply, so they have to take care of Jeremy to the best of their ability alone. At this point, he Frankie can't even speak and only screams out in terror. At the same time, he's become violently sick, constantly puking up the black liquid, and his hair's falling out. The stress of the situation and the looming feeling that something could attack them at any time has gotten tensions very high. Felix and Frankie can't stop arguing, and on top of all of that, they're almost out of money. One day, while feeding him some soup, Jeremy manages to speak for the first time, thanking them for everything. Hearing him speak brings Felix and Frankie to tears. At least it seems like Jeremy's gonna be okay. After a few more days, he finally has the strength to fully talk and move around. Felix even gives him a haircut. Man, this guy's got a lot of hobbies. With Jeremy back in better shape, they get a chance to discuss everything that's happened. Frankie starts by asking him about the fact that he was seemingly burned alive. Well, it turns out that this was all an illusion. We already know that the Stagtown entity has the ability to make people hallucinate, but I guess it has multiple ways of doing this. Originally, we saw from Frankie's perspective
he's just sick. He's just really, really sick and weak. But jeez, bro. He lined up my boy, though. Felix came for my boy. Jeremy lined him up. Let's go.
He fought the camera before catching fire and jumping into the river. In reality, a second camera appeared that flashed a bright light. Jeremy knows better and covers his eyes, but Frankie and the other men look into it, manipulating their perception. Kind of reminds me of the neuralizer in Men in Black. What actually happened is Jeremy was grabbed by the camera and pulled into the river, eventually leading him underground. Although his experience there was so awful that he refuses to speak of it. After learning this,
But wait, wasn't he on fire? But wait, he was on fire though. That's crazy.
Frankie is stricken with guilt, believing that what happened to Jeremy was her fault and that she should have known better. The next day, they discuss some more, and we finally learn about Nova. At the end of the last season, Jeremy mentioned finding a box in the library labeled Nova. This person was clearly digging into the mystery of Stagtown. Jeremy says that he isn't sure who Nova is other than they were a resident of Stagtown back in the 70s and into the 2000s, and that he believes that they created the symbol that combats the effects of the entity. Judging from Nova's research notes, they were trapped in the town as well, and they mentioned that the Stagtown entity is really old and doesn't understand technology, but has the ability to learn over time. Jeremy believes that Nova accidentally taught it how cameras work from filming all over town for their research, and that he may have helped it learn about computers by keeping his blog. He found that it has a harder time with numbers, however, which is why he started using numerical codes. As they discuss what to do next, Jeremy opens up his notebook and finds the place where he drew little love doodles about Frankie. He instantly turns red, realizing she must have seen it at some point. Felix catches on to what's happening and almost makes fun of him about it, but Frankie stomps on his foot and changes the subject, clearly trying not to embarrass the guy. They leave Jeremy to get some rest, and he tells Frankie that none of this was her fault before she goes. He considers telling her everything that happened before the memory reset, how they were actually really close, but ultimately he decides it could be harmful to her mind and that he's just gonna have to start over with her. We get a look at the grass outside of the building, and something is
Which is gonna suck, because she seems like she likes Felix already, so that's gonna be a pain in the butt to deal with. That just sucks.
Coming out of the ground, a pale white hand reaches up from under the soil. Several more days have passed, and Jeremy is almost back to his old self. He comes out of the room to thank them again for everything they've done. After overhearing a few of Felix and Frankie's arguments, he realized that they were tight on money. Pulling out the black box that he kept his research in, he reveals a secret compartment that's full of cash and a bank card. I guess Jeremy's family was loaded and left him a huge inheritance, so they won't have to worry about money, at least for a little while. Felix offers to head out and grab some much needed groceries along with some new clothes for Jeremy. He takes a picture of a silly shirt he bought and sends it to Frankie, who tells him to put it back. It's a funny little text exchange, but more importantly, if you look behind the phone, you'll notice some bare feet slowly walking towards Felix. Veins are popping out and black liquid drips down from its legs as they stop right in front of Felix, who finally puts the phone down. It's a really cool sequence, honestly, and is freaky as all hell. Just seeing the pair of legs standing there covered in black filth. The screen goes black and there's a series of strange symbols. Felix seems to be actively trying to ignore the feet, and it doesn't seem like this is the first time he's encountered them. More symbols rise up like they're appearing directly in Felix's mind, and finally he opens his eyes to find that the creature has vanished. Chapter 12.
Doing an animatic.
With Jeremy's money at their disposal, the gang upgrades to another apartment in the same building with more rooms to give each other a little space. They come up with the idea of getting some security security equipment set up around the apartment in case anything tries to attack them. The problem is they have to do this within a closed system since they know that the entity has control of the internet. Jeremy then reveals he actually has some equipment they can use in his storage unit, and he's not talking about the stuff Frankie already looked through. He has some off-grid place that he's been storing things on the outskirts of town. He also has some more documents and research materials there as well that could be helpful. So the gang bundles up and heads out to go see it. Even little friend the cat comes along.
Little friend!
Unnecessary to
oh wait, they found the cat? Oh, bro, they found the cat. Remember the cat fell in the water and then Jeremy put the cat on the rock and then they got pulled down into the cave? They found the cat. Holy moly. I forgot about the cat. Oh my god, that sucks. Oh my god, poor little kitty. Oh my god, they found the cat. Let's go.
Everyone, but Felix insists. He doesn't want anyone going anywhere alone. Well, after that creepy pair of feet he saw, I don't blame him. Still, he doesn't tell them about what happened because he doesn't want to worry them. They drive down a back road until suddenly a man with a gun stops their car and tells them to get out. Well, that escalated very quickly. Turns out that Jeremy knows the guy. In fact, his name is Bobby, and it's his place that Jeremy is storing his things. This guy is a bit of a conspiracy nut as well, but to an extreme degree. He isn't controlled by the entity because he already mistrusted the water supply anyway. Jeremy sorts through his things, but it looks like he's collected a lot over the years, including a huge plastic horse skeleton. Frankie finds some loose rocks about the place, and I guess Jeremy thought they may have evidence of the Bigelow on them. Felix tries to discreetly warn Frankie not to entertain Jeremy on the subject of the Bigelow, but she ignores him. Jeremy is visibly excited to talk about it with Frankie, and you know what? She's smiling as he goes through his Bigelow spiel. In this panel, she reminds me of the old Frankie before all the memory resets. Felix tells him it's all BS, but Jeremy reminds him that the Stagtown entity turned out to be real, and Frankie backs him up. They've experienced enough supernatural things that the Bigelow cryptid isn't out of the realm of possibility.
We're doing a creepypasta reaction as I do artwork. Pretty much.
Jeremy is clearly ecstatic at her support. Felix just changes the subject and asks if Jeremy ever stayed the night in here since there's a sleeping bag, pillow, and some food in the corner. The thing is, Jeremy says he never stayed here, which means someone else has. A pretty creepy thought. They make the decision to leave as quickly as possible, and as they drive off, we get a look at the back of the garage where red handprints cover the wall. They set up the equipment as soon as they're back at Frankie's apartment. She's a little uneasy about security cameras considering what happened at the start of this series, but Jeremy assures her that it can't be hacked. This is a completely closed system. Frankie tells Jeremy about the iron mine they found underground, but they have no idea how this connects to the entity or the carousel. It's another lead at least, and they decide to go to the library to look through some records. Since Jeremy is supposed to be dead, they need to hide his appearance, and Felix has just the thing. It's a weird emo cat outfit. I don't know, it's hard to explain. I guess Felix went through a bit of a phase and still kept it around. So after laughing their asses off about it, they head out. At the library, Frankie and Jeremy look through some old documents, and Felix goes to grab a book where he is suddenly struck with a skull-splitting headache. Looking through the shelves, he sees the pale feet standing on the other side, dripping all over the floor. They suddenly turn toward him, and he freaks out. He runs over to the other two and demands they leave right now, urging them to just take everything with them. Back at the apartment, Frankie and Felix get into it about what's going on. She insists he tell them what's up, but he just denies everything. They start looking through the files, including the original box of stuff labeled Nova. Frankie looks under the label and sees the box as a stamp saying for staff use only. This implies that whoever Nova is, they might have worked at the library. Frankie also pulls out a shoebox with some things she collected over the past few months, including some marbles which Jeremy instantly recognizes as being from the Marvell house. If you remember way back to chapter 2, Miss Davids was doing some patchwork on the house, mentioning that she used to have a young man who did these sorts of things. Well, it turns out that that young man was Jeremy. He started doing odd jobs.
Yeah, it's not out yet. The adorable for the campfire friends, they're not out yet. Still waiting on that because I'm kind of disappointed that you didn't put it out yet. So we're using this as a substitute
for the lady when he got the sense that something was going on there. Apparently when Jeremy worked there, the children didn't wear those freaky ass animal masks, but instead just regular surgical masks. He did notice that they played with marbles constantly. Frankie recalls Miss David saying they sold the marbles at craft fairs and such outside of town. If that's
Wait a minute, back up. What?
house. If you remember way back to chapter 2, Miss Davids was doing some patchwork on the house, mentioning that she used to have a young man who did these sorts of things.
Okay.
Well, it turns out that that young man was Jeremy. He started doing odd jobs for the lady when he got the sense that something was going on there. Apparently, when Jeremy worked there, the children didn't wear those freaky-ass animal masks, but instead just regular surgical masks. He did notice that they played with marbles constantly. Frankie recalls Miss Davids saying they sold the marbles at craft fairs and such outside of town. If that's true, then that means it is possible for at least some people to leave Stagtown. And thinking about it, this must be the case, otherwise how would the stores get shipments of food? So how does the entity decide who goes in and out? Just then, Jeremy's computer beeps, a motion alert to the camera just outside the apartment door. They take a look and it seems like it was a false alarm, but Felix spots something in the corner of the monitor. The pale feet are just barely in frame. His headache rushes back and he starts to see some of the symbols in his mind again. Grabbing his bat, he heads out into the hallway, but he doesn't find anything and starts feeling like he's losing his mind. After this incident, Felix is obsessed with patrolling the apartment complex. Inside, Frankie and Jeremy spend days going over all the documents, and it also gives them a chance to talk. They both tell each other everything they've been through, although Jeremy still has trouble talking about his time in the underground. He's also really glad Frankie recovered his keychain while she was trapped in the tunnel, and clearly seems to cherish.
Whenever a dude is not worthy to talk about what happened down there, you know it's a lot more than what he's saying. Like, you know, they did some unspeakable things on his backside, most likely.
It's kind of sad that Frankie has no idea the reason he likes it so much is because she gave it to him before her memory was wiped. They don't want to talk about Felix behind his back, but he's been acting so strange lately, and they're getting worried about him. There's a hint of jealousy here coming from Jeremy when he sees how concerned Frankie is. You can tell he's a little worried she might have a thing for Felix. They get back to business, however, and Jeremy asks Frankie if she ever got to look at the email he sent Felix before he went missing, and if she knows about Project Arc. Outside, Felix sits on a bench when he starts to hear a strange noise. He looks over to see black footprints appearing down the sidewalk, and they're headed in his direction along with the tapping of bare feet on the pavement. It's as if an invisible creature is walking right at him. It stops for a moment, and then it runs at him fast. It's really terrifying. Felix runs like hell, and as he climbs the apartment stairs, he looks back to see the footsteps not far behind. All the while, the symbols run through his mind, only now we can see some of it in English. It says, "You can't hide anymore." We can see the footsteps climbing the stairs, as well as some handprints, as if this thing is crawling. Felix desperately enters the apartment and slams the door. Outside, we can see a handprint on the other side, and looking down, there are now several sets of footprints and handprints all over the wall. Then one last set of symbols appear saying, "We're already inside." Next, we move into another Remember segment. This one is in the form of a letter from someone named Charles Harris, a Stagtown resident in the 1800s. He writes to his friend Samuel shortly after moving to Stagtown. He tells him that the townspeople are kind and that there's an abundance of wild deer. He ends the letter by stating that he plans to build a carousel in a field behind his house after seeing one in France. Interesting. Chapter 13. Arc. We learn a little bit more about Project Arc from Jeremy. Before everything went nutso, Jeremy took all the info from Nova and sent it out to skilled theorists who read his blog. This was in the hope that they could decipher any hidden messages and send the results back. So there's a chance they could have emailed him back, but in order to check, they would need an internet connection. It's extremely risky, but they'll have to break into the library and use the free Wi-Fi to try and access Jeremy's email before the entity catches on to what they're doing. As Frankie and Jeremy discuss this, Felix comes barging into the apartment, ignoring them and slamming the bathroom door behind him. He's clearly frustrated and freaked out, and we can see a small hole in the back of his neck where the metal creature injected him with the black liquid. It looks like it hasn't completely healed up, and in fact, right now there are dark veins branching out from it. Jeremy tries to talk to him, but Felix pushes him out and locks the door. That night, while Frankie is sleeping, Felix enters her room with his baseball bat. It's an ominous sight. He grips his bat, and little friend starts hissing at him. Then he seems to snap out of it and head back into the hall. His eyes look dilated, the same as the townspeople when they're being controlled. The next day, they discuss
bro,
the
gotta
library
go.
plan, and unsurprisingly, Felix is not on board. But they do eventually convince him. They actually leave out the part about the email. They're just not really sure they can fully trust him with the way he's been acting. They get to the library in the dead of night, and Frankie starts using her lockpicking skills to get the back door open. Watching this, Jeremy has a flashback to before the memory wipes when Frankie did the same thing in order to explore an abandoned building with him. In this memory, she even refers...
This would have been an interesting show. I think this would have been pretty popular, like as a Netflix special or something.
...to him as Jojo. Well, if she had a cute nickname for him, then I guess they really were close. They get inside...
No, what? Screw with Netflix. This would be perfect for Amazon. I don't think Amazon touches their stuff. I don't think they're as woke as that as Netflix.
...and beeline it for the computer. Felix asks Jeremy what he's doing, and he just says computer stuff. But before he can get anywhere, the power to the entire building shuts off. It looks like the entity caught on to them quicker than they hoped for. And nearby, they hear a large crash. Something is in here with them. Nearby, the sound of bare footsteps patter through the aisles of books. Felix just grabs the others and starts pulling them toward a shelf to hide behind. Through the front door, a strange black mist appears and several handprints materialize on the window. At the same time, Felix starts getting a horrible headache. They head into the back offices in search of escape and luckily find a window. Jeremy also finds a laptop nearby that still has power. Not wanting to miss the opportunity to get the email, Jeremy opens it up, but down the hall, the entity is closing in on them. The black mist and handprints are filling every surface. Jeremy finds an unsecure Wi-Fi network from a nearby building and races to get the email. Behind them, the door creaks open and we can see a couple of pale toes on the other side. The door opens wide and the mist creeps in. Two pale arms are crawling toward them as well, and symbols flash on the screen, sending Felix into a full-blown panic. He looks up and we see the creature in its disturbing entirety. In the middle of the mist, a pale and
white-eyed... Bro, this is some Alan Wake condemned nonsense that's happening here.
Face howls, and several disembodied arms reach out from the mist around it. It's easily one of the creepiest images in the series so far. Frankie tries to talk to Felix, but he just tells them to hide and picks up a stool, swinging it wildly at the floating monstrosity, only to knock over the nearby desk and subsequently Jeremy and the laptop. Frankie tries to stop Felix, but he's only more terrified and belligerent, breaking the stool on the wall. Jeremy grabs the laptop once more, and Frankie finally yells at the top of her lungs to Felix, telling him that there's nothing here. He's fighting nothing. Looking back at his perspective, we can see the pale arms flailing in front of him. But I guess this is all in his head. He stops for a second, and then the pale legs appear again, walking toward him, and the back of his neck flares up again, the purple veins branching.
Yeah, this is a genjutsu. This is a genjutsu for him specifically. I don't even think they can see it, or I don't think anything's there. This is a genjutsu.
Out even further. Frankie notices this for the first time. She tries to ask him about it, and then suddenly, Felix turns around and grabs her by the throat. His eyes are black, and the mysterious liquid is dripping from his eyes and nose as he chokes Frankie. She tries to call for Jeremy's help, but she can't get the words out, and Jeremy's fixated on getting the email, assuming that Felix is protecting her. Jeremy looks over and sees the pale feet standing right beside him. Okay, so maybe not all of this was part of Felix's hallucination. This is actually the most we've seen of the legs, and above the kneecap, they become severely disfigured. It almost looks like bone or fungus or something jutting out from the top. I can only imagine what the rest of this body looks like. Well, Jeremy finds a number 2 pencil nearby that fell off the desk and stabs the thing in the calf with it. It lets out a horrific scream and falls to the floor.
Not the kneecap, right in the kneecap, bro. Oh, bro, no. I don't even, like, I understand, like, it's the monster, I get it, but damn. Still a kneecap, though. He's not in the leg, it's in the kneecap, bro.
As the leg twitches on the ground, Felix suddenly comes back to his senses and drops Frankie to the floor where she gasps for air. Felix looks over at the creature and grabs a piece of the broken stool, then proceeds to repeatedly smash the legs. We can see the black liquid splatter across the walls and books. Finally, we get a slightly better look at the thing as Felix continues to beat the shit out of it. We don't get the full picture here, but it looks like this entity was more than just legs. However, it's hard to describe because it's so disfigured. disfigured, especially after Felix wrecks it. Jeremy finally gets into his email and asks Frankie to help him memorize it, but the internet shuts off halfway through. So in the end, they only got a few details. Felix continues to smash the creature into bits until finally it disappears entirely. He collapses in tears and admits that something really is wrong with him. He feels sick. Back at the apartment, it's a little awkward. Frankie is holding a bag of ice to her bruised neck, and Felix is apologizing profusely. But she doesn't hold it against him. Instead, she says that they need to stop blaming themselves when it's the entity that's doing all of this. They discuss the mark on Felix's neck and theorize that the fluid is still in him and can control him to a limited degree. Worst of all, it seems it's growing stronger every day. They don't know what to do about it, and Frankie mentions that the only thing that this black stuff seems to be afraid of is fire. At the sound of this, Felix suddenly jumps to his feet and runs to the kitchen where he grabs a piece of paper and some matches. He then rushes into the bathroom and locks the door behind him. He lights the paper on fire and presses it against the back of his neck, burning himself in the process. Immediately, the black liquid pours from his eyes and mouth, and he starts vomiting into the sink. As he does this, Frankie picks the lock on the bathroom door, and they find him collapsed on the ground. It was a crazy act on Felix's part, but it does seem that he forced it out of his body. Chapter 14, Answers.
Ballsy, but smart.
Is not looking too hot. Frankie's covered her bruised neck up, and Felix has a bandage on the back of his. They discuss what they could remember from the email. Some numbers, a row of X's, and the main thing being a phrase. Look for me where my family isn't. I should probably note here that the 7 puzzle boxes sent out by Jeremy were actually sent out to Stagtown ARG players in real life who deciphered them and sent back an email with what they discovered. So these clues were actually deciphered by real people. It's a very cool way to do an ARG. It makes the story feel somewhat interactive without making this real life knowledge necessary to
Wow, that's a smart way to get your fans to interact with you.
It's a really neat idea. Anyway, they're not sure what any of this means and wonder if it connects to the mines. Jeremy did some research and found an iron company that started in the early 19th century, but the operations were suddenly halted and the owners left town. It's unclear why, but there are documents saying they struck something underground and there were several mysterious fatalities afterwards. It's not clear how the carousel factors into this other than the carousel field is not far from the mine shaft they crawled out of. They try to think back on everything they know, and Frankie mentions once again that the creature that attacked them at the library and possessed Felix didn't seem to want to kill them. Maybe its strategy is just to lower their morale and isolate them by finding their biggest weaknesses. But that still doesn't answer why. They need to find more clues about Nova, who's likely dead at this point. Frankie suggests, since the clue mentioned family, that they look at the cemetery. It seems to be a dead end, no pun intended, but while Felix and Jeremy argue over what the numbers from the email mean, Frankie notices something. A large family crypt with the name Lillian Overton on it. She uses her hand to cover up parts of the name, singling out 4 letters. Nova. So the label on the box was just the middle of the name, the rest having been torn off. It also fits the clue. Look for me where my family isn't. This is a family crypt, yet it only has one name on it. After arguing over the ethics of entering someone's grave, Frankie takes a look at the lock on the doors. She can't pick it because, weirdly enough, it's fake. In fact, the doors are not meant to be opened at all. So they investigate the rest of the structure and find a door-shaped indentation on the back, along with 3 circular flower designs. Frankie tries turning one and finds that the tops come loose and inside are 3 dials. It seems that this is what the numbers might be for. She gets the digits from Jeremy and moves the dials accordingly. Then a secret door opens up. As it does, a strange bent piece of metal falls on the ground. Not sure if it's important.
Stagtown.
Frankie grabs it and they enter. However, finding the door was only the first part of the puzzle. Inside on the floor, there are 3 giant circles with rings of symbols inside. In the middle of each circle, patterns are cut into the concrete. After looking over it for a while, Jeremy asks Frankie for the metal thing that fell out of the door and finds that it fits into the slits in the middle of each circle. It can then be used to spin them. They also find that amongst the symbols on each circle are X's. Remembering the 3 X's from the email, they turn each circle till the arrow points to the X's, and it works. The floor opens up to a hatch. I hope that all made sense if you're just listening. It's hard to explain puzzles like that without the actual visuals. But anyway, with nothing to lose, the gang heads underground, and finally we get some answers. I guess I should have expected that, seeing how it's the name of the chapter. They drop into what looks like a study of sorts.
STAG, Stag, TOWN, town.
They're
All together, one word.
There's books and notes everywhere, and the walls are lined with red strings set in weird patterns. Felix finds a framed photo nearby of who they believe must be Nova, aka Lillian Overton. They also find an old tape recorder with a note simply saying, "Play me." They pop it on and we get an audio log from Nova. She explains that she came to Stagtown ages ago but found herself unable to leave. She tells of her struggles with the entity and how she doesn't think she'll ever make it out, even though she promised her mom she'd see her again. Well, there's some sadness I didn't expect to experience. She says that if someone is listening, then they'll likely know about the carousel. It calls to her, asking for her help. Eventually, she was led to the carousel and then underneath, where she encountered the entity. She describes it like a churning, raging rat's nest. It offered her a deal to help it, and in return, the rest of Stagtown would be spared. Too tired to keep trying to fight it, she agreed. Shortly after the recording, she plans on heading downriver and into the caves to find it once more, and hopefully end the madness. With all her research, she believes this all has to do with the town's past and some terrible mistake made a long time ago. The carousel at the center of all of it. If she survives helping it, she'll remove this tape, but she suspects that she won't, and warns anyone that finds it not to help the entity. If it kills her, it'll kill them too. She says that it has the power to give people the sense of heavy guilt that drives them apart, which is how it manipulates people. She then says, "Good luck," and the tape ends.
That's gotta be important.
Chapter 15, Lockdown. They take everything they can carry from Nova's secret study along with the red string, which Nova claims the entity hates. Felix even uses some to make bracelets for the crew and a collar for Littles, of course. After looking through Nova's notes, Jeremy finds a lot of religious iconography but can't quite connect it back to the carousel. They do confirm that Nova created the eye symbol and even find drafts of it before she came up with the final design. Next to these is a note that reads, "Guilt haunts an innocent soul." As they discuss what this could mean, the electricity goes out in the entire building, which means they no longer have a security system and can't monitor the cameras. The city tells them it's a power outage and may be down for a few weeks, but they know this isn't a coincidence and that the entity is after them. They now have no security and most of their refrigerated food has gone to waste. They paint Nova's symbols in red all over the apartment, hoping it'll protect them, but they have another big problem as well. The ATMs in town have stopped working, so Jeremy can't get any more money out. On top of that, the shops refuse to run it, saying that the entire town's internet is down. People seem concerned about all of this at first, but the entity still has control, and people just go on like nothing happened. After days of this, the situation is getting pretty desperate. At this point, they're running out of cash, and
why does it matter they're running out of cash if the entity is taking over everyone? I don't think anyone's working normally, aren't they? Because if everyone is like literally under the mind control, they're not working. Because if the internet's off and stuff like that, and production for most people is not going to be working, everyone will be home. Yeah, like it doesn't make sense to me. It's like if everyone's under some type of mind control, are they really doing their like routines of at work and stuff? So I don't think the what do you call it, the landlord is going to care too much.
Could get evicted for not paying rent. Plus, food is an ever-present issue. Felix is frustrated and suggests that they just try taking the hiking trails. It's the only exit out of Stagtown that they haven't attempted yet. But Jeremy says he actually did try taking them, and even using a compass, he would always end up right back in Stagtown. On top of that, he says he felt like something big was watching him in the woods. I don't like the sound of that. A few days later, Felix and Jeremy are making dinner, and Frankie is drawing when someone rapidly approaches the apartment and repeatedly knocks. Everyone's on edge at this point, obviously, and they cautiously look through the peephole to find a random woman. It's actually Jeremy and Frankie's landlord that you may remember from way back at the beginning of season 1. However, as soon as she starts talking, it's clear that something's wrong here. Her voice sounds just like how Felix's did when he was possessed, and trying to get Frankie to let him in. After putting this together, Frankie just yells at her, saying this isn't going to work and to let that poor woman go. The lady just keeps talking like she didn't hear anything, which is odd because the possessed Felix actually responded to her and tried to persuade her to open up. They soon
Lyra, where did you put the fan art? I don't know. I can't. It's not in the thing. What's that supposed to be? That better not be me.
Realize the symbols they painted must keep the entity from seeing or hearing inside. After a while, this woman suddenly goes silent, and Frankie looks through the peephole to see if she's left. We then see that the woman is holding a pistol in her hand, and in a truly shocking moment, she puts the gun to her head, and we hear a gunshot. Something Frankie is forced to witness in gruesome detail. I mean, wow, I didn't expect this story to take such a dark turn. It seems the entity is willing to go to any lengths at this point to convince Frankie to help them. Frankie just completely crumbles into Jeremy's arms in shock and realizes...
If I remember right, this is legitimately... This is, you know, it's great storytelling when you can keep people's attention on something about this. And this is legitimately the first death. This is the first legitimate death out of the 3 videos so far. That's good story writing to keep people's attention and no one died. We try. That's the first death, I think. That's not even like the... Yeah, that's the first one.
Realizing what happened, the other 2 are terrified as well, as we hear the sounds of the other residents discovering the body. Next, we see a strange scene. The apartment is dark, and Jeremy begs Frankie not to look through the peephole.
Well, that was the landlord. You don't have to worry about getting any money right now. The landlord's dead, so we don't have to worry. You know what? I understand that was horrible, but when you think of it, it was just... It just extended the time. Let's just put it that way. It just extended the time warranty.
She ignores him, and when she does, there's a gun pointed at her on the other side. It goes off, and Jeremy suddenly wakes up. I guess this last part was only a nightmare brought on by the traumatizing event that they witnessed. At this point, the 3 of them are all sleeping in the same room together out of fear, and Jeremy looks over at Frankie sleeping and touches her hand. Felix then wakes up, and Jeremy starts to vent to him, feeling like he's breaking down. He's terrified about what could happen, but Felix comforts him and tells him he'll never let anything happen to him. As they talk, there's another knock at the door. It's repeated furiously, and they wake up Frankie. They realize that the same thing that happened to the landlord could just keep repeating, and that they have to leave. They make a rope from the bed sheets and climb down from the window.
We have to leave,
Taking Felix's car, they drive off into the night.
Yeah, he's right. We have to leave. That is a straight up warning. That's a warning. Next time, it won't be just someone taking their life. It'll be them trying to bust into the door next. It might be a mob of them. That was just one. It might be a mob. So, yeah.
With no idea where they're going. We move into another Remember segment. In the last one, we got some insight into Stagtown in the 1800s when a man talked about building a carousel in the field behind his house. Well, this one is from the perspective of a little girl whose father was hired to make the carousel, and it gives us even more clues as to what started all of this. The girl says her father was hired by the rich man on the hill to collect animals without hurting them, which is quite difficult. Of course, the only nearby animals are the abundance of deer. The girl peeks into the barn where they keep the animals and is frightened by how they're mistreated. Essentially, what we're learning here is that the rich man plans to build a carousel with real animals, but the wild stags are difficult to tame. Clearly, the father is frustrated, and his daughter has a conversation with him where she offers her stuffed rabbit up for the carousel, which is kind of sweet. She says that she tried to pull the rabbit on a sled made from sticks tied together, but he wouldn't listen either, like the other animals, and kept falling off. So she eventually stuck pins in his legs to keep him on. The father thinks about this for a minute and then says, you know, that's not such a bad idea. Oh God, I hope he's not going to do what I think he's going to do to those deer. Chapter 16, Playtime. After driving for some time on the outskirts of town, Frankie and the boys finally decide to head to Bobby's place since it's effectively off the grid and he's friendly enough, at least with Jeremy. When they arrive, they find that the door is open and Bobby is missing. They look around and can't even find any food. Felix rages out, smashing a cup and yelling at Frankie in frustration, leaving her to cry and clean up his mess. I know he's just stressed out, but what a dick. Jeremy comes in to comfort Frankie, and Felix immediately...
Bro, what? Bro, what the hell? Bro, what the hell, bro? Damn. You don't have to... Come on, bro. You don't have to be that way. Damn.
Feels guilty for what he did. He then hears a scratching noise coming from the hall closet.
Bro, you should be the last one screaming at people. You was out here choking this chick over like a day or two ago. I would cob myself fast.
Slowly opens it, and a scream echoes that bass out of your voice. The other two run to him and find that he wasn't the one who screamed. There's a little girl in the closet, and it just so happens to be one of the Marble House children named Ashley. Okay, brace yourself for a big information dump here. They give the girl a snack to eat and ask her why she's here and what the hell happened. We learn that Miss Davids, along with the other children, didn't leave town but headed down underground instead. An older boy named Noah convinced Ashley to run away with him, and she mentions how all the kids' stomachs would hurt when they didn't obey. But Noah taught her how to not feel sick by throwing up the bad stuff. something Felix can relate to. Clearly, she's talking about the black goop from underground. She says that they tried to go to Frankie's apartment since she was the only adult that they knew, but she wasn't there. After wandering around for a while, they eventually found Bobby's garage and hid out in there, which explains why the gang found the sleeping bag when they were retrieving Jeremy's things. One day they saw that Bobby had left and she looked inside for food. She goes on to explain that a big thing attacked them. She simply describes it as big and scary and says that it attacked Noah, but that they had some honey still, which helped. It seems like it's the same honey that kept Jeremy alive in the underground, and that it has some healing qualities, or at least can stabilize the effects of the entity's control. We also learn that Noah is still in the shed. After he got hit really bad by the creature, he told Ashley to leave him there to rest, and she says that all he does is sleep now. Oh god. Hearing this, they enter the garage and look around for him. In the corner where the sleeping bag was, they do find the boy Noah, but judging by their reaction, he's dead. Yet another sad moment I wasn't expecting at this point. Frankie quickly puts on a happy face and tells Ashley to go along with Felix while her and Jeremy bring Noah to a hospital. In reality, they're forced to bury the boy in the backyard. Jeremy pulls out a bottle of liquor, and they can only bring themselves to do it after having a few drinks. Inside, Felix plays finger puppets with Ashley to distract her, while outside, Jeremy and Frankie have finished the job. They even put a cross over the boy's grave, tied together by a red string. At this point, the two are a little drunk and cynical. Now they have another mouth to feed and still no food. Eventually, they think they'll just have to steal some. Later inside, Jeremy asks Ashley more about the honey and how it ended up with him in the underground. She says that the black stuff told her what happened to Jeremy, and Miss Davids told him that he was sleeping down there just in case he changes his mind, so she sent the kids down to him to give him honey. Ashley tried to tell Frankie about Jeremy, but her stomach would hurt if she tried, so she drew a picture for her instead. So in retrospect, the disturbing drawing of what looked like Jeremy's death was actually Ashley trying to show Frankie that Jeremy was safe underground. Even after Miss Davids and the other kids left, Ashley and Noah continued bringing the honey to Jeremy. She says it's because he was so nice to them when he worked at the house. This whole thing does seem to confirm that the entity was keeping Jeremy alive temporarily, and that it can only use a certain kind of person to become its helper, Jeremy being a candidate. Frankie cuts in and asks Ashley something. How did she even know that Frankie knew Jeremy, since she never mentioned him while working at the house? Ashley starts to answer, but Jeremy cuts her off, saying that he needs to be the one who tells them this. He believes that the helper that the entity needs must be an outsider, someone not from Stagtown. He tells her about how he actually met her when she first arrived in Stagtown, and that was years ago now. Frankie's actually years older than she thinks she is from all the memory wipes. And the biggest revelation of all, she's not from here. When she first met Jeremy, she said she had never been to Stagtown. As Jeremy tells her this, Frankie and Felix experience sudden and horrible headaches, seeing visions of the carousel in the process. Jeremy gives them both some of the honey, and it actually does seem to help, nullifying the effects. Jeremy is guilty, saying he should have never risked telling them this. He just wanted Frankie to remember so badly. Unfortunately, she doesn't regain any of her actual memories as a result, but Frankie tells Jeremy it's okay. She doesn't want to talk about her past anymore anyway, and they just need to focus on the task at hand. She asks the girl if the entity has any weaknesses, and she doesn't think so, but she does say that if you feel guilty about things you've done, it'll get you. But it's okay because you can get someone to eat the bad guilt and you'll feel better. They stare at her like, what the hell are you talking about, kid? But surprisingly, Jeremy backs her up, saying she must be talking about a sin eater. This was an ongoing practice between the 17th and 19th century. Back in the day when someone died, the family could call a sin eater and make them eat a small loaf of bread over the dead body. Supposedly, they ate the sins of the dead person, leaving their soul free to go to heaven.
Man, we humans always making up some nonsense just we humans are something else.
The Sin Eaters were usually poor outcasts struggling to survive and would do this ritual just to get some food and a small payment. This is a completely real practice, by the way. Frankie is shocked that Ashley would even know about this, and Ashley says Miss Davids told them about it because it was important to their mission in helping find a special person for the entity. She also mentions the marbles that Miss Davids had to make.
Sure
Jeremy
they're the
asks
real person.
if she has one, and he has Felix try to break it open. Sure enough, the marble breaks, and inside, black goo pours out. So the entity forced the kids to make marbles.
Look at that! Silver, you was right. Silver, you was on it, bro. The marbles do have the black stuff in it. Let's go. Look at you, Silver. You're on your shit, yo. Let's go.
And then Miss Davids would sell them outside of town to hopefully draw people in as potential helpers. Okay, I know this has been a dense chapter, but I just couldn't spare any details here, as everything this little girl is telling them is major to the Stagtown mystery and the truth behind what the entity wants. Later, Frankie finds Jeremy sad outside and asks him how long they've known each other. The reason she brushed it off earlier was she didn't want to know about all the time that she's lost, but it seems like she probably should. She starts rambling, wondering what type of person she was before, but as she does, tears well up in Jeremy's eyes. When she finally notices, Frankie tells him it's okay, it's not your fault, and not to blame himself for anything, but he cuts her off, saying it's not about that. He gives her a huge hug and talks about how bad it was when he lost her. She forgot him and probably won't ever get those memories back. It hurts so much losing her, and he just misses her. She tells him that he's wrong, he hasn't lost her, and that he's not alone. Then she kisses him on the cheek, and we can see his face turn red.
Let's go! Let's go, Jeremy! You probably got him, bro. Alright, bro, let's go! Let's go, Jeremy. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. My boy Jeremy, let's go.
Frankie has some feelings for Jeremy as well. They get up to head inside, and Frankie finds the saucer keychain on the ground. She hands it to Jeremy and asks where he got it anyway. He just replies that it was a gift from someone very special. Chapter 17, Cracks. After an inventory check, they find that they're officially out of food, and there's no other option but to head into the city and grab some with their remaining money. Felix is against the idea at first because someone would have to stay behind with Ashley, but they just can't risk bringing her into the city. So Felix and Frankie are going to get the food in the morning while Jeremy hangs back with the little girl. The night before, Ashley builds a fort in the living room, and they're forced to keep the lights off at night to not draw attention, so Jeremy gives her his keychain as a nightlight. The next day, they finally head out into the city. On the drive, Felix apologizes for yelling at Frankie the day before, saying he doesn't handle stress very well. They discuss shoplifting if necessary, but Felix is against it, and hopefully they can buy what they need and bolt. They make it to the store, and when they finish shopping and get to the register, the cashier just stares at Felix, saying nothing. His eyes are black, and when they turn around, they find all the people in the store are just stopped and staring at them. They grab the food and run out of the store toward the car. When they arrive, however, they find that a mob has gotten to it first and tip it over before chasing after them. At this point, they have to escape by foot, and the food is only slowing them down, so they're forced to ditch it. Damn, they were so close. The mob closes in on them as they tuck into an alley and hop a fence. Out of desperation, they try a nearby door to an apartment building, and thank God it's unlocked. They run down a flight of stairs until they end up in the basement and find several storage units. Frankie looks around until she finds a unit that isn't locked. They're only shot at a hiding place. They get inside, but can hear the clatter of footsteps descending the stairs. Back at the house, Jeremy is starting to get worried. It's been a bit longer than he hoped. He asks Ashley more about the big thing that attacked Noah and what it looked like. She describes it as a big thing with a scary face that had teeth, and we actually get a small glimpse of the creature in the darkness. Jeremy begins to wonder if this creature was the reason Bobby left. Meanwhile, back at the storage unit, Frankie and Felix hide as the mob searches the area. One person goes so far as to take a look in the unit they're hiding in, but luckily doesn't do a thorough job. The problem is, as he leaves, he latches the padlock. They're safe from the mind-controlled residents, but now they're trapped. Frankie tries to pick the lock, but it's difficult reaching through the bars and not being able to see it. In a bad turn of luck, she also drops her pick. Tension is high, and they argue for a bit. Frankie's worried that Jeremy might come after them. They joke about who he likes more, and then it takes a more serious turn as Felix reveals that he thinks he may have feelings for Jeremy, not just as a friend. He asks Frankie not—
Whoa, bro. What? Whoa. Hard turn on that one. What?
They joke about who he likes more, and then it takes a more serious turn as Felix reveals that he thinks he may have feelings for Jeremy, not just as a friend. He asks Frankie not to tell Jeremy, and they get back to the problem at hand. I've found that this little exchange is actually—
Well, Jeremy, you got Frankie for sure, my bro. Jeremy, you got Frankie now. Guaranteed touchdown at this point. Guaranteed, bro.
Quite controversial online, but we'll touch more on that later. Right now, they need to escape. Frankie says she already got all the tumblers to bind on the lock, and she utilizes Felix's long arms and a small rake tool to try and open it. It's a struggle, but Felix manages to get the lock open, and he's quite proud of himself. We move into another Remember segment, and this time we get some major revelations regarding the carousel and what went wrong. Thankfully, the animals aren't nailed down to the carousel, but they are fixed to it using metal shackles screwed into the floor, as well as muzzles that are fastened to the wall to keep their heads straight. We see the carousel from the deer's perspective, being spun around against their will and unable to move, their eyes wide and legs shaking. It's pretty barbaric and sad to think about. Worst of all, the animals are kept there overnight while the partygoers get drunk inside. Wolves begin to approach from the forest, and the next day, everyone finds a horrific sight at the carousel. The deer were slaughtered and eaten by the wolves.
Oh my God.
There's blood covering the field. These sons of bitches basically made rotisserie chicken for the wolves. The poor animals were locked in place and couldn't even try to run.
Wow.
It's pretty awful. After the carousel incident, Stagtown suffered a terrible drought, and the crops began to dry up. The townspeople braced themselves for a difficult winter.
Oh, I get it. Okay, this is Mother Nature getting its All right, there, Alex. This is Mother Nature getting its revenge on the people who did this to the stags. Okay, it makes sense.
And couldn't help but wonder if this was punishment for the sins committed against God's creatures. Was it judgment being cast on the foolish rich man on the hill? But the people kept quiet about it, not wanting to anger the rich man who helped build up the town so much with his wealth. However, as time went on, things only got worse. Animals became hard to catch, and there was a total absence of deer in the forest that once littered the area. Soon the townspeople resorted to acts of paganism, leaving gifts and offerings at the edge of the forest to try and appease the spirits they blamed for their misfortune. The town
Why would you think that will work out of nowhere?
Condemned the act, but as the crops continued to fail, it only happened more often. The rich man tried to help wherever he could and gave money to the poor, but it didn't help. Over time, the people began to blame the rich man for the unjust act and the following punishment. One night, a mob
Typical human stuff.
gathered and made for the rich man's house. And that's where this segment ends for now. Chapter 18. Flight. Frankie and Felix make their way out to the street and try to make a plan of escape, but they don't have many options without the car. They can also hear what sounds like a large crowd of people moving somewhere nearby, as well as the sound of a vehicle heading right toward them. They tuck into an alley and see a green truck barreling down the road. Oddly, it seems like it's on the run as well. A car tries crashing into it, and a mind-controlled man throws his body in front of it with a sickening crack just to try and stop it. Well, it works, and the man driving the truck stops and gets out. It turns out it's Bobby, Jeremy's conspiracy nut friend, whose house they're currently hiding out in. Frankie flags him down, and after a moment of surprise, he tells them to get in the back. They drive off, and Bobby tells them what happened. He was chased out of his house by a large creature, likely the same one that Ashley mentioned, and hid out in a secret campsite he has in the woods. He ran out of food and came into town, only to be faced with the same hostility as Frankie and Felix. As he drives toward the back roads, he finds there's a blockade up ahead, forcing him to turn into a nearby alley. He tells Frankie and Felix to hop out and that he'll draw them away since it's his truck they're searching for. That actually gives Frankie a better idea. Next thing we know, the truck is sitting still in the alley and a resident spots it, pulling up in their car. As they do, Felix comes out from hiding and punches the guy in the face before jacking his arm. Bobby and Frankie come out as
Imagine me that just get punched. He just sit in his car, he got punched in the face. That's what you get for keeping your window open for like no reason.
Well, and they all get in. At least now they aren't being targeted. They get back to Bobby's place and he tells them this is goodbye. He's gonna try and make a break for it out of town via the bridge. Maybe since he's not one of the criteria for the entity's helper, he can escape. He tells them about a supply shelter that's hidden behind the house and gives them the code to get in, and then he speeds off. And that's the last we see of him. Bye-bye, Bobby. They rush into the house and find that Jeremy and Ashley are perfectly fine. They tell them to grab their stuff and that they need to move quickly. The mob could show up here at any time. They make their way out back and look around for a sign of the shelter, and as they do, they can hear multiple cars pulling up to the house. They see an unusual rock formation and frantically look around until they finally spot a trap door. Meanwhile, the mob is wrecking Bobby's house, searching for them, and eventually they start making their way to look around outside. Luckily, this is just as everyone has gotten into the trap door safely. They turn the lights on and find it's a fully stocked fallout shelter with beds and plenty of room. This is why it's nice to have a doomsday prepper as a friend. They have everything they need here, at least for a while. Even better, Bobby has a security system hooked up with several cameras watching the house and the trapdoor, all on a closed system, so it can't be...
For some weird reason, Silver, I feel like you would have a doomsday prep thing going on with you, bro. That's not even an attack. That's literally, I feel like, legitimately low-key you would have that.
messed with. They watch the security monitors and hope to God that the possessed townspeople don't spot them. They do get pretty close to the shelter, but eventually turn around and leave. A huge sigh of relief. Now that they can relax for a minute, they look around the shelter more and find some cool stuff, including a bike, which Jeremy informs them is great in a post-apocalyptic scenario since you don't need gas and it doesn't make any noise. They also find some guns, but all the ammo is locked in a safe and they don't have a code to it. Probably a good thing since none of them have any idea how to work a firearm. They're safe for now, but they also don't know what their next move is. At night, Jeremy stays up and watches the monitors for any activity, and Frankie and Felix take inventory of the supplies to see how long they can survive down here. It's only stocked for one person, so they're probably going to run out of food eventually. While they're alone, Felix brings up his feelings for Jeremy again. I told you we'd get back to this. He starts to vent about it, but Frankie tells him that it's not uncommon for people to get attached to others in incredibly stressful situations. They've all been through a hell of a lot, and it is odd that these feelings seem to have come out of nowhere, so she tells him however he really feels, he's not going to figure it out while they're in this mess. She tells him to just wait until they're out of Stagtown to think about it with a clear head. Felix agrees, but throws it back at her, questioning her feelings for Jeremy. She loudly interrupts him and just says that she wants a fucking nap. She says she wants to leave this town, go someplace else, and sleep for 3 days straight, and she's not thinking about anything else until after that. After this, Jeremy calls Felix and Frankie over, and they take a look at the monitors. He points to the upper right camera, and a huge black figure seems to pass by, but it's hard to make out. It seems like it's searching for them around the house, and little friend starts growling. Chapter 19, Fight. The entity continues to circle the house for several days until one morning it vanishes. Still, they take shifts watching the monitors and everyone is on edge. Frankie's even found a few gray hairs from the stress, and they're running out of supplies quicker than they thought. During one of Frankie's shifts at the monitors, she sees a disturbance on 2 of the cameras. They've gotten extremely fuzzy, and then, one by one, they go out. It seems like the entity is interfering with the feed, but it still doesn't seem to know where they are and is only messing with the cameras by the house. Jeremy declares he's sick of hiding and that sooner or later it'll find them. It's time that they try and fight back. He picks up an aerosol can and lighter and shows them how they can make small flamethrowers, assuming that this creature is also afraid of fire. He also says that they have the supplies and he could make Molotov cocktails as well. They decide they're on board to try and defeat this thing, but should go to the mines and try to attack the entity at its source. Problem is, how do they get there? They no longer have a car and there's no way they'll get there on foot. Frankie then says they do have a car. She pulls out her keys and reminds them that her car is sitting at the train station. It's just been sitting there ever since her and Felix met up on the tracks. Since then, they've been using his car. Well, it's been unused for a while, but hopefully it'll still run. The plan is to have one person take the bike to go retrieve it since the train station is pretty close. Then they'll use Ashley and Noah's secret route into the tunnels. Frankie pulls a few strips of paper at different lengths and they draw them like straws to see who will be the one to go get the car. Jeremy pulls the short paper, so in the dead of night, he takes the bike and makes his way to the road. Here it's revealed that he cheated, tearing his paper shorter to trick them. He believes it's his turn to protect them after dragging them into all of this danger. Lit only by the moon, Jeremy starts pedaling to the train station. Back in the shelter, Frankie and Felix discuss what to do about Ashley. Obviously, she can't come with them into the mines, and with the creature outside closing in on them, it's not safe here in the bunker for much longer. They finally decide to leave Ashley in the car outside the mines and can hide her in the back seat. Still risky, but they don't really have any other choice. Jeremy makes it to Frankie's car without any issues, and after jump-starting the car with a portable battery, he gets it running. Just as he closes the hood, he hears a rustle in the woods nearby and looks over to see a stag watching him, although it just stares at him doing nothing. He slowly gets in the car and starts driving back to the shelter. Meanwhile, Frankie tells Ashley the plan, and the little girl just point-blank asks her if they're gonna die. Frankie tells her no one's gonna die, but Ashley just shoots back saying that it already killed Noah. Yeah, I guess this girl wasn't as naive as they thought, and she knew that they didn't take Noah to the hospital. Frankie hugs her and tells her she's sorry that she has to deal with all of this and that she deserves a normal life. She reassures her that she'll be okay in the car and that little friend will be with her to protect her. Just then, Felix spots something on the remaining 2 cameras. The huge entity has shown back up and is dangerously close to the shelter.
You know you're screwed when someone says the cat will protect you. Cats don't do shit. Even when they try to do anything, they can't do nothing.
It disappears for a moment, and they think maybe it left again, but suddenly it pops back up, looking straight into the camera and screaming. That is horrifying, and right after the feed cuts out, now it for sure knows they're here. Next thing they know, the power shuts off entirely. Up top, Jeremy has made his way back to Bobby's and is now on foot heading toward the shelter. Little does he know he's going right into a trap. Just as he closes in on the trap door, a massive rumbling and howl knocks him to the ground. He looks up and is at a loss for words at what he's seeing. The creature is right in front of him, and we finally get a good look at it. It seems like it's composed of the black goo, but with a giant gaping mouth and large human teeth. Inside the creature's throat, there are several arms hanging out of its flesh. Are these his previous victims? Who knows, but this thing is frightening to say the least. Jeremy finds his resolve, however, and pulls out a lighter and spray can to make his impromptu flamethrower. He lights it and shoots flame onto the creature's side. It lets out a shriek, but doesn't back down. Instead, it grabs an entire tree and throws it at Jeremy, who
narrowly kidding me? It can do that?
In the process, he loses his lighter, and after fumbling around for it, he turns around to see that the monster is closing in despite the fire spreading on its body. The arms dangling in its mouth and multiple eyes on its head. Right before it gobbles Jeremy up, an explosion of flames hits the beast once more. Frankie and Felix have showed up just in time to toss a Molotov at the guy. Frankie chucks one more at the creature, and it seems to have been a finishing blow. Only problem is the whole forest is starting to burn down. They find Ashley and little friend waiting for them, and they all make their way towards Frankie's car. After being forced out of every home they've had and constantly on the run, the truth has become clear to Frankie. There is no escape. There is no way out. It's finally time to fight back, and hopefully put an end to all this. They arrive outside the secret entrance to the mine and gear up. Jeremy tries to tell Frankie something in case they don't make it, but she interrupts him, saying that's quitter talk. He can tell her when they make it out of here. She's so determined to beat this thing that it actually makes him laugh. Meanwhile, Felix has one last chat with Ashley, telling her that if she hears anything, to hide under the blanket and be still and quiet as a rock. The other two show up and say their goodbyes, but before they go, Ashley gives Frankie the flying saucer keychain, since it's so dark in the underground. From there, the trio make their way into the mine. In the final Remember segment of Stagtown, we continue where we left off. The villagers of Stagtown forming a mob and raiding the rich man's home. They kill everyone inside, including the children. Jeez. The people then took the bodies of the dead and burned them at the foot of the forest as one last offering, hoping to finally end the supposed curse. With the rising smoke, the people hoped their guilt would rise away with it, but the forest, it seems, would not be satisfied so easily. A single spark was all it took to catch a nearby tree on fire, which quickly spread until the forest they worked so hard to appease burned to the ground. Talk about a backfire. Months passed and eventually a stranger showed up. One who would, for some small amount, consume the crimes of the dead and let them ascend to heaven while he sank lower to hell. A sin eater, carrying the sins of hundreds, maybe thousands. But the town decided they could use him. They dug up the burned bodies of the rich family and told the man that they died from disease. On their caskets, they lay some drink, some bread, and a measly sum of coins. However, the sin eater knew better. The stench of months-old decay was all around, and it was clear that this family had not died recently. He refused to eat their sins, but the townspeople wouldn't have it. Their guilt rose up until the angry mob killed the sin eater, which only led to more guilt. They were out of chance.
Very galaxy brain idea to do that. Very stupid. Very smart on their behalf. Right. That made sense. That's like killing an angel because they won't take you to heaven. So you killed an angel? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Like, you idiots. That's why you guys deserve hell. All you. All you stupid. All you.
And over time, the people all died. But beneath the soil, deep down, their souls still raged and wept. Guilt and despair still pooling like a foul black substance. Many years later, Stagtown built a new carousel. This is the end of the Remember segment, but now we have most of the backstory as to how all of this began. Chapter
You're not
20.
wrong.
Record.
They
The
are
three
dumb.
friends travel through the dark caves and discuss their plan. They're going to try and find the underground carousel and light the pool of goo on fire, hopefully destroying enough of it so that it can't regroup. As they walk, they soon find the ground to be wet, and Jeremy points out that there's some moisture on the walls as well. However, when he takes a closer look with his flashlight, he finds this isn't water. It's the black liquid poking through. As he realizes this, it starts bursting through the walls until finally a flood of water pours out, filling the tunnel. They try to brace themselves on the cave walls, but the tunnel fills up and it sends them all underwater. Jeremy and Felix manage to get onto a nearby ledge and help Frankie up, but their gear is all wet now and they only have one flashlight left. Earlier, they wrapped some matches tightly in tinfoil, hoping to keep them dry, and at least they still have the spray cans and lighters. But now where do they go? Jeremy ties the remaining flashlight to his arm so he doesn't drop it, and out of options, they begin to wade into the stream to slowly make their way down the tunnel. As they do, the stream only gets stronger, and they find it harder and harder to stay upright. Eventually, they can't hold on.
One of you are dying in this.
And get sent downstream into the dark. Up ahead, the cave splits, sending Felix and Jeremy one way and Frankie another. Jeremy holds on to Frankie's hand with all of his might, but it's no use. They're pulled apart, and the party is split. Outside in the car, Ashley is sleeping when she hears a rustling nearby. She pulls the blanket over her and little friend and tries her best to become a rock. The noises continue, and finally she slowly peeks out at the window. At first, she sees nothing, and then a person appears glaring in. It's pretty creepy and feels right out of a horror film. Back in the caves, Frankie finds herself in the dark, alone and crying. She pulls out Jeremy's keychain from her pocket and lights it up. But when she sees it, she only breaks down even further, telling herself she can't do this. As she cries, she looks up and sees a glimmering in the dark. She looks over and finds an old tape recorder, much like what Nova used to record her message. However, when she presses play, she doesn't hear Nova's voice, but her own. As the tape plays, we get a flashback of Frankie as she recorded it. She's got shorter hair and specifically mentions Jeremy, calling him Jojo, so it's clear that this is Frankie before any of the memory wipes. She says she's recording on an analog tape recorder because Jeremy taught her not to use digital equipment since the paranormal can interfere with it. It seems she heard about a supernatural hotspot in the woods and stumbled onto this mine shaft. She says Jeremy's birthday is in less than a week, so what better present than to show him this place after scoping it out to make sure it's not blocked off or anything. She says there was a rickety old ladder down the shaft, but she found some footholds on the side to take instead. This is actually an important detail for later. After exploring for a while, Frankie stumbles upon the underground carousel. She freaks out a little bit, but says that Jeremy will be psyched to see this. She approaches the pool at the bottom and finds the black liquid. It springs to life and knocks her on her ass. She drops the tape recorder in the process and runs like hell. We hear whispery voices as it messes with the various buttons, asking, "What is it? What does it do?" It plays and rewinds the tape a few times. We cut to Frankie, who's escaped the mine, only to be hit with a sharp pain and headache, her first memory wipe. She heads back to the apartment where Jeremy's waiting for her to go on their big trip, only as we've seen before, she doesn't know who he is. Back in the present, Frankie comes to the realization that the entity learned from the tape recorder how a memory can be rewound and recorded over. By leaving the tape recorder there, she inadvertently was the one who taught it how to erase memories. She tells herself that all this time, it really was her fault. Chapter 21. Rat King. Clutching the tape recorder, Frankie makes her way through the tunnel until she enters into the large space with the broken carousel. In front of her, there's a path between the black liquid lit by green bulbs. She walks to the base of the carousel and the stairs underground open up once more. She drops the tape recorder and willingly walks down the steps without saying a word. Inside, she finds a massive pool of the black sludge and a sort of pedestal made from the cave's natural formation. In it sits a piece of bread. Then out of the pool rises the form of a massive creature, like dozens of rats fused together. One large rat head looks at Frankie with a bloodshot eye. It seems this is the Stagtown entity's final form. She asks it where her friends are, but it doesn't answer, implying that they're dead. Then she asks why it's doing this and why it wants her. A mouth appears, opening from the black mass, and for the first time we hear the entity fully speak, simply saying, "Very well," as if it's decided to give her an answer. It says that long ago they did something foolish and angered the spirit of the forest. Then they were punished for it. For their amusement, they made the first carousel and left animals to die on it. The forest, in retaliation, filled their lives with misery. It wouldn't accept their apologies and could not be
It was. They pissed off the nature. They pissed off nature. It It was just that horrific to the point that it just couldn't take it no more.
Satisfied by offerings. When the Sin Eater refused to help them, they killed him as a sacrifice, but still the forest ignored them. Even after death that has held them here, their bodies are gone, but they still remain trapped under the soil. Unable to speak, their anger and sadness slowly formed into a black mask, forced together by their wicked ways, tangled like a nest of rats and pooling into a lake of sins. One day, miners came and freed them from the grip of the rock. Years passed, and to their shock and anger, the town built a new carousel, the very thing that kept the spirit of the forest mad at them. Their rage allowed crack the surface of the earth and destroy the carousel, pulling it underground, along with every Stagtown resident, man, woman, and child. Their souls only joined into the darkness below. Over the years, they thought and thought on how to escape their torment, until finally they realized they would have been freed if the Sin Eater had not refused them. So they needed a new Sin Eater to take their guilt. After much persuasion and persistence, they eventually convinced Nova to take on the sacrifice. She ate the Sin Eater's bread, but nothing happened. The ritual failed. So, they killed her. After this, they realized that they must replicate the ritual exactly, and they would need a Sin Eater from outside of Stagtown, much like the original Wanderer all those years ago. That's where Frankie came in, the next Sin Eater who will eat their guilt and free them. Frankie then asks the creature what'll happen if she agrees. Will she die? The entity responds saying they have no way of knowing. Frankie then says it's taken everything from her, everyone she cares about. If she's gonna die anyway, there's no reason to help it. Hearing this, the rat looks over, and out of the pool rise Felix and Jeremy. I guess they're not dead after all. But with their lives on the line, it asks her, now are you ready to help? Felix and Jeremy wake up confused, and the entity presses Frankie again, saying they will die unless she becomes the Sin Eater. Jeremy pleads with Frankie not to do it, saying this is all his fault somehow. Frankie realizes in that moment what's happening, and what's happened all along. It's using their guilt to control them. Frankie proclaims there is no forest god or spirit of the animals, and there never was. Just a terrible incident and a string of bad luck. But they were so afraid they invented something to blame it all on. The only thing holding them here is guilt, because
then this is a cursed spirit. Like Jujutsu Kaisen rules, this is literally a cursed spirit. It's just an amalgamation of guilt and anger from like the villagers from before. That's what this is. This is a cursed spirit at its highest.
The people of Stagtown refuse to take responsibility for what they did. The
rules.
ritual will never work, not until they admit that they were the ones who messed up. She asks them who she's eating the bread for anyway. Who among them is the most guilty? The rat starts to rage at her, but then another rat head pops out and blames the rich man. Another follows after and blames the ones who worked for the man. This continues on as the creature argues with itself amongst the many rat heads. In the meantime, Frankie grips the keychain in her hand and gets an idea. The creature isn't happy about the turmoil she caused and in rage tries to kill her. She dodges and falls to the ground. She quickly cracks open the saucer keychain, exposing its wires and battery, and pulls the tinfoil from the matches out of her pocket. She shoves it into the side of the battery trying to get a spark, but suddenly a huge amount of the sludge drops onto her, sending the flying saucer out of her hands. The giant rat head moves in on Frankie, ready to devour her, screaming over and over that she's to blame as many eyes appear across its body. It's pretty terrifying. At the same time, the keychain bounces across the ground and lands with a thud, causing a small spark to shoot out. Much like when the people of Stagtown accidentally burned down the forest, all it takes is one spark. It lights up the pool, sending flames up the rat's body as it screeches in agony. It mutates and melts into a disfigured mess as the flames overtake it. And looking closely, you can actually see the faces of the souls amassed inside, crying out in terror. As it burns, it drops Felix and Jeremy, and they get up as the trio run for their lives out of the mine. Behind them, the giant rat screams and tries to eat them all in one last attempt, but crumbles in the process. They make it up the stairs, and we can see the fire spreading out of the entity's lair and onto the rest of the black liquid by the carousel. Remembering their last visit down, they follow the path from before until they get to the mine shaft. But if you remember, the ladder fell down the shaft last time. Frankie then recalls what she said on the tape recorder. There are footholds on the far wall. Wow, Frankie really saved her own ass here. They find the footholds and start climbing, but the burning rat is still trying to chase them down, and the flaming beast howls in the tunnel behind them. They make it to the surface to find burning cracks spreading rapidly across the ground. At this point, they believe the fire is spreading across the whole entity, which
in this particular show is not shy of killing children, so.
Great, except for the fact that they could die in the process. They make it back to the car and see several people on the ground around it. Luckily, Ashley is safe inside. She's obviously scared to death, but she's alive. She says that people showed up and started tapping on the car and tried to get in. It seems that the monster has gotten much weaker and relinquished its control of the people before they got in. Jeremy asks what they should do about them, but Frankie tells them it's not their problem and they need to leave now.
It's not a problem. Get that? She's right. She's right. I don't care. Let's get out of here. I don't care. They'll figure it out themselves. I'm tired of this.
Frankie floors it, doing her best to avoid the many cracks spreading all over town. At this point, with all the sinkholes, it looks like the entire town is going to collapse. As they drive, they can see buildings being pulled into the ground, and Frankie drives as fast as she can toward the tunnel. With the monster this weak, she thinks this time they can make it. However, a massive crack is forming right behind them, the entity's last attempt at killing them. Jeremy tells her to turn away from the bridge and avoid the crack, but she's determined as always and puts the pedal to the floor. Chapter 22. Us. Here we are, folks, the series finale and final episode of Stagtown. Frankie drives as fast as possible toward the tunnel exit as the bridge breaks behind them. This is their last chance, but the collapsing bridge causes the car to get stuck. The back tires are hanging off the edge. Ashley cries in the back, and the crew believes this could be the end, but Frankie doesn't give up. She hits the gas until finally the wheel catches and sends them flying
Girl
forward.
boss
As
moment.
they approach the tunnel, Frankie hears a voice in her head telling her to go back, and a creepy figure starts to appear at the end of the tunnel.
Nah, hit
Frankie
him.
yells out, "Not this time," and keeps moving forward. We then see that familiar angle of the stag sculpture at the top of the tunnel. Only this time, instead of Frankie going in, her car comes flying out. They made it, and the town collapses behind them. As the sun rises, we hear Frankie's inner monologue. She says no one can know how good the dawn feels until they've been through the longest, darkest night. How wonderful it is to see the sun come up. How relieved they feel. It's the darkness that makes the day seem much brighter. And it's so beautiful you hope it never sets again. We see them watching the sunrise, Felix playing with Ashley, and Frankie and Jeremy sitting by each other in the grass. This scene is actually in full color. Frankie continues wondering what they're supposed to do now and where their home is, but it doesn't matter. Now, they can go anywhere they want. Jeremy holds her close, and they look up at the blue sky. And that is the end of Stagtown.
Nice.
Well, there you have it.
Nice. A lot better than Stranger Things ending. Tell you something, that's a lot better than Stranger Things. Oh my god, that was better than Stranger Things ending, straight up. Not saying Stranger Things is bad, it's just the ending was horrible. Let's go. Look at that, guys. Haha, let's go. That was fun. That was really fun. Oh my god. I think total people died. I think, well, actually, when you think about it, everyone died except the main characters. So, like, that's what makes it better. We literally let everyone die. That's crazy. All right, we'll find the next one. So let me see if I can find something here. Okay, this is our...
The IRL stream of Italian.
Hold on. Let me find it here. Okay, what's next? Okay, let's find something. Still, they don't have continuous. Okay, this one's interesting. It says, this comic will make you question your humanity. Interesting. It's called Upgrade Soul Explained. This one is called The Upgraded Soul.
Hello friends, this is Grief speaking, and today I have a real treat for you as I'm covering one of my favorite comics of the last few years, Upgrade Soul by Ezra Clayton Daniels. I remember being struck by its interesting cover as well as the art inside. It's really one of those instances where I judged a book by its cover and it paid off. I just started reading it not knowing what to expect and found a disturbing, heartbreaking, and compelling story that I think about all the time. While for the most part this comic is not in-your-face scary, it is truly frightening on an existential
45
level,
minutes.
making you question
The last one was an hour and 5 minutes.
What it means to be a person.
Sorry, it's cut
I don't
off.
want to
Sorry
spoil
about that,
too
guys.
much here
Sorry.
as there are some really shocking twists, so we'll just get into the comic. But before that, I do want to announce that I've launched memberships on my channel. I wanted to offer some fun perks to members like a movie club where we watch a different movie each week and discuss, as well as grief stickers and holiday postcards that are handwritten by me. So go check out the options, and if you're interested, become a channel member. But that's enough yapping.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of that this year. Once this this animatics over, I'm gonna be focusing a lot of doing a bunch of stuff for the supporters.
Let's get into the comic. This is
That's
Upgrade
definitely my
Soul
biggest
Explained.
focus.
Part 1. An old woman named Molly and her niece Dell are running a science experiment in the backyard. Using cereal boxes, they've constructed a large maze for Dell's pet rabbit. However, before they can conduct the experiment, the neighbor's cat jumps in out of nowhere. Molly and Dell rush in and manage to trap the cat before it can get its paws on dinner. They head inside to find Molly's husband, Hank, and his brother Cliff, who just got back from playing basketball. Cliff is Dell's father, and she begs him to let her stay longer, while Hank is clearly in pain from basketball. He sits down and promptly falls asleep, old man style. While he sleeps, Cliff asks Molly about something called Vaya and tries to talk her out of it. It seems to be a sort of surgery or something that both Molly and Hank are going to participate in. She says that she and Hank are grown-ups and they can make their own decisions. Still, Cliff looks pretty worried about the whole thing. Meanwhile, Dell smacks Hank with a pillow to wake him up so she can say goodbye. Molly walks them out, and as she says goodbye to her niece, we jump ahead. Everything's white, but a voice is calling out to Molly, a doctor named Kenton Kalos. He asks her to try to move her index finger. She replies in a sort of strange gibberish, and the doctor tells her not to speak and again asks her to move her finger. Once she does, he tells her he's going to remove the bandages from her eyes. It's here we get a fairly shocking sight. The person being addressed by the doctor doesn't look like Molly at all, but like some kind of horribly deformed mutant or alien. The doctor continues telling her that she may experience severe muscle pain if she tries to move too fast. As he starts to remove the bandages, we get another look at Molly and she tries to speak again, asking, "What happened?" The doctor says it's complicated and that her husband Hank is right beside her and is still unconscious. Molly starts yelling out in garbled speech, asking to see him. As the last bandage is removed from her eyes, she reaches out her hand and finds it to be a strange yellow blob with webbed fingers. She panics and again requests to see her husband. Here we can see more of her deformed, veiny face and tiny eyes as she flails her stubby arms. Finally, the doctors move an incubator over, which apparently has Hank in it. The doctor assures her that despite how he looks, this is her husband, and we can see that he looks the same as Molly, a small yellow blob-like creature. Molly turns over to see the disturbing new form of her husband, and the doctor asks that they trust him. God damn, talk about an opening. It then cuts back to the past as Molly and Hank discuss the operation. Hank seems to be getting cold feet, saying it's risky and that they could die as a result, but Molly says that at least they die a part of history. She feels that they've both done well for themselves, but ultimately haven't done anything that will outlive her. She says that after the operation, they could start over, maybe even have a family. Considering they're both very old, I'm starting to wonder what the hell this experiment is. Well, Hank says that's good enough convincing for him, and that she could end up being the smartest human on Earth. He also wonders if his hair will grow back. It seems like this has something to do with de-aging. In the future, we see Dr. Kalos explaining a little bit of what happened to Molly, that they seem to have no chance of recovery and were comatose until a few weeks ago, when they began to make rapid improvements. So before pulling them out of their comas, they performed a few minor surgeries like replacing their underdeveloped vocal cords and installing a voice modulator. Apparently, Molly and Hank's bodies only matured to that of 10-week fetuses before they decided to cancel the project entirely. As he explains all of this, Molly sits with her small yellow hand on Hank's incubator. It's a sad sight, honestly. We jump to the past again, where one of the scientists on the project are showing Hank and Molly some possible projections of what they could look and feel like after the operation. The projections show that not only will they look and feel younger, they'll actually be smarter than they were before. For instance, their memory retention will have a massive jump, as well as stamina and strength. On top of that, they'll never have to worry about heart palpitations, blood pressure, astigmatism, etc. ever again. And
I know right now scientists are trying to do this very thing. I think they're still studying on this. They're doing it with rats right now. They made one rat. They was able to age up a rat and then de-age the same rat. So they had a rat. They had two twin rats, and they was exactly the same age, but they aged up one from, I think, like very old, and then they de-agedified it back to almost near to its twin. Similar to his twin's age. So they can do that, but they can just do it in rats. Now they're trying to figure out if they can do it monkeys and primates, and then they can probably do it pigs and stuff, and then they're gonna jump to humans. So that's how they're gonna. This is really a thing. This is a real thing. This is not just a scientific thing. This is a thing that they're trying to do. Now they're not trying to make you live forever. They're just trying to de-agify you back to whatever age you was. So you're canonically 30 or something. Like say you're 20 or 30, but you can go make your body back to 21. So you have a 21-year-old body, but you're canonically 30. So, you know.
Depending on how well they take care of themselves, they could have an 80% longer lifespan than average.
Yep.
Molly's projections look to be even higher, at least mentally. Her memory retention could be as high as 98%, which is as close to total recall as any human could get. Of course, Hank and Molly are shocked at what they're seeing and excited about the potential. We cut back to the future. Deep into the night, the deformed Molly lays in her hospital bed, staring at Hank, who's still comatose, and begging him to wake up, saying that she really needs him. As she speaks to him, the door to the room slowly creaks open, letting the light from the hall spill in. A figure in a wheelchair approaches the end of Molly's bed, reaching in at her. It seems to be some old lady, and she's asking if Molly called for her. Molly is terrified, and her heart monitor starts beeping, alarming the staff. Before they get there, however, the old woman wheels back out of the room. She passes the staff members in the hall, and one of them says that...
How did she move so fast? She wheeled. Oh my god, that's kind of funny. I'm not even gonna lie.
She's not supposed to be down here. The woman makes it back to her own room where an old man lay in bed. She turned the lights on, and the old man addresses her as Molly. He asks what's wrong, and we finally see that the old woman is in fact Molly, and that the old man in the bed is Hank, although he doesn't have his beard, and they are both much skinnier than before. Molly looks at Hank in horror and tells Hank that those creatures are them. Yeah, so this first chapter was all I needed to read to know that I wanted to cover this comic. It's an extremely intriguing premise and a great misdirect, leading us to believe that the creatures were in fact the original Hank and Molly, only horribly disfigured by the operation. But in fact, these seem to be completely different entities. So why is there another set of Hank and Molly, and why do they look the way they do? Let's get into the next part. Part 2. On a rainy day, Molly and Hank Nonner show up to a large building in the middle of nowhere for some kind of meeting. It seems they're late, and as they enter, the receptionist, Bianca, calls her superiors and tells them to boot the projector back up. She greets them as they walk in, and we learn that Molly's full name is Dr. Manuela Nonner. This is an important detail for later. Bianca calls them the guest of honor and tells them that they'll be staying in the deluxe cabin out back. Apparently, most of the staff here live on site as well. Bianca gets some paperwork ready, and Molly takes note of a troll doll on her desk and calls it the ugliest thing she's ever seen. Bianca winks and replies, "Hey, trolls are people too." It's a little on the nose given the story. As she walks the honors to the presentation, Bianca explains that her main job here is to take care of Dr. Callus's sister, who's disabled, although we don't learn what that entails. It's kind of a rinky-dink setup, as the Nonners sit in some fold-out chairs in a gymnasium. On a stage sits Dr. Kitten Callus, who looks kind of pissed off. Bianca introduces Callus awkwardly, and the man is basically in tears as he complains about how the Nonners are late. Next to him is a woman calling in on a video call named Dr. Victoria Teal, who I guess is a big deal in the field. She starts to introduce herself when the lights shut off, and Dr. Callus skips ahead to his slideshow presentation titled The Upgrade Cell Project. He says that every human enters the world with vast potential, but a myriad of factors prevent us from fully achieving that potential. Disease, injury, emotional trauma, and personal defeat all get in the way. But who would you be if you've been afforded at birth an unassailable set of genes? You could then devote your life to achieving your maximum potential. He explains that Upgrade Cell is a genetic purification process. The doctor then brings out a healthy-looking dog named Biko. He claims that the dog was born with a birth defect rendering him blind and deaf. This defect also resulted in myofibril atrophy and osteopenia. The doctor walks to the other end of the stage and throws a Sharpie across to the dog, who snatches it out of the air with perfect accuracy. He says that Biko used to be tube-fed his food 5 times a day. He then asks the dog how many times, and remarkably the dog barks 5 times. This is the latest success story of Upgrade Cell. Molly and Hank are in shock, and later in their cabin they discuss what they saw. Molly admits she was starstruck by Dr. Teal and Callus himself, who is something of a prodigy in the field. She assumes that this research is being done outside the system, and that there are likely some major ethical and legal breaches. She also assumes that soon they'll want to test on humans, and that it's only a matter of time before they find some brass-balled idiot to sign up. Hank grabs her by the arm and says, "What about 2 brass-balled idiots?" revealing to her that They may be the first to test it. As they talk, we can see out the window where Biko is being walked around a red box outside. He's brought back inside, and then, strangely, a whimper can be heard from the box. Okay, that's ominous. In the future, Kitten Kalos is talking to his sister Lena through her bedroom door. She won't let him in, and it seems she has some kind of speech problem, so she talks to him by writing on paper and passing it under the door. She tells him to go away forever and to stop breaking promises. Kitten breaks down in tears and apologizes, telling her that she's actually lucky, explaining that the operation got all screwed up and that they turned the nonners into monsters. After a long pause, Lena pushes another note under the door that asks, "A monster like me?" He says that that's not what he means. They're barely human and look like giant potatoes or something. He tells her she's lucky she didn't go through the operation first. They're disgusting. Okay, so it looks like the operation was originally intended for Lena, which must be the promise her brother made. But they tested it on the nonners first due to the project being funded by Hank. She slides another note under
Yes, it's a webtoon. We're doing a creepypasta segment.
the door
And I'm drawing Siminu from
asking to see
Gachiakuta
the
for my animatic.
monsters herself. Kitten says when things settle down, he promises he'll see what he can do. This is met with a loud bang from the other side of the door as it's yet another promise. Just then a loud beeping sounds and Kitten runs off. He arrives at the room with Molly's clone, where the staff explain that the original Molly must have snuck in. The clone is freaking the hell out, and Kitten tries to tell her no one came in, but she calls him a liar and punches the side of her bed in anger. Surprisingly, the small creature dents the metal, showing that she is much stronger despite her form. One of the staff tells Kenton that it looks like the cat is out of the bag. Later, Dr. Kalos and his assistant Garth are examining Biko and discussing their findings. They mention another test subject as well, a dog named Aiko. Garth talks about a strange separation issue between the dogs that causes a mental trauma that can manifest as physical pain when the animals are apart. We then get a look at Aiko, and the dog is severely deformed. In fact, it looks exactly how Kenton described Biko before the operation. That's because Aiko is Biko, or rather, Biko is the new and improved Aiko. The upgrade cell operation doesn't just improve the test subject, it creates an advanced clone of that subject, and the original is meant to be discarded. Basically, the idea is to make a superior clone and then kill the original. The only thing that's unclear here is why they kept Aiko alive. Maybe for some sort of testing. So it seems Hank and Molly were meant to be replaced by the clones, but after they came out all messed up, Kenton wasn't sure what to do. Now there are two sets of living people with the same personality and memory. A deeply disturbing concept that feels like a sci-fi thought experiment come to life.
Oh God.
Part 3. Part 3 opens in the past, where we learn a little bit more about Hank and his career. His father created a character named Slane, who's a blue-skinned alien from Venus that was a pop culture icon decades ago. After his father passed, Hank continued Slane's legacy, writing several novels, and now a big studio wants to make a movie reboot of the character. The problem is they aren't fully accepting Hank's creative input. The biggest being that Hank requested a black actor to play Slane, as his father created the story as a post-slavery allegory and made the character blue because he knew in his time he wouldn't get away with writing a black hero. Hank's manager shrugs off his complaints about pre-production and reminds Hank that there is a lot of money to be made with this movie. Next, we learn a little more about Molly. She's something of a scientist herself and is trying to make a device for detecting pathogens but keeps hitting roadblocks. Her young assistant mentions that this must be one of the longest running research projects of all time, considering he was just a little kid when she first got funding for it. Hank calls her at the lab to vent about what happened with the Slane movie, and as they talk, he finds a business card in his wallet from Dr. Victoria Teal. In the present, Kenton and Bianca have a meeting with the Nonners to have them sign some paperwork. The doctor reminds them that they both agreed to help fund and participate in the project, and also agreed to the risks involved. Basically, they're making it clear that Hank and Molly agreed to waive any blame on Via's part for what's happened. The couple doesn't really care about that. They're more concerned about what the hell's going on. They talk about how they both started getting headaches about 9 weeks ago, and even weirder, the severity of the headaches depends on where they are in the building. Molly says she would hang around the east wing where the headaches were less noticeable, and one day she had a strange vision or dream. She was on an operating table and turned to the left to see her husband. However, it wasn't really him at all. It was something else. She woke up from this vision and knew exactly where to go. And when she saw the thing in that hospital bed, she knew what it really was. With tears in her eyes, Molly demands that they stop treating them like children and explains explain what's going on as well as take them to that room. Finally, Dr. Callis agrees to tell them everything and takes them to the room with the clones. Molly looks at her small deformed counterpart, and Kenton says that the staff has taken to calling her Manuela in order to keep things less confusing. Molly is in pure shock as she looks at Manuela, and Kenton explains more about the process. He says that Upgrade Cell relies heavily on cloning technology. Their advancements involve the accelerated maturity of the nuclear material in cells. The source is kept in suspension as the clone matures, though this is only in case the clone fails. It was during the stage that there was a problem that occurred, making it highly unlikely that the Donner's clones would survive, but they ended up surviving anyway. Hank's jaw has dropped at what he's hearing, and tears fill his eyes as he asks the doctor what would have happened to the sources if the process succeeded. He's basically coming to the realization that if the clones succeeded, him and his wife would have been killed. Kenton seems pained as he explains that no one would have ever known. They would have delivered their promise and simply terminated the contingency, aka kill the original Nonners. Molly asks if the clone is brain dead, and Kenton tells her that this is where their understanding diminishes. Surprisingly, Manuela is actually more intelligent than even the projections. Learning this, Hank addresses Manuela, asking her if it hurts, and she says right now she actually feels fine. She goes on to ask how he's doing, and then says she missed seeing his face. It's clear that Manuela has all of Molly's memories, but she has attained an almost perfect recall and can remember even tiny details from years ago. What this seems to mean is that Vaya was actually successful in their operation. The upgrade cell actually worked other than Molly's appearance. Molly mentions that since the procedure, she has had worse memory than ever, but Kenton assures her that this is due to the trauma she's experienced. They ask about Hank's counterpart and learn that the staff has taken to calling him Henry for the sake of confusion. Henry is still in a comatose state, but Hank finally agrees to see him and they enter his room. Encouraged by Manuela, Hank approaches the incubator to see his deformed clone, and as he puts his hand to the glass, Henry starts to wake up.
Uh-oh.
Part 4. In the past, we see how Hank met Dr. Teal and learned about Vaya to begin with. He's backstage at an awards show for the sciences, practicing his speech, when Victoria Teal sits next to him and strikes up a conversation. Apparently, Hank has gotten the Support of the Sciences Award, which Dr. Teal jokingly calls the Moneybags Prize. Right before Hank gets called up for a speech, Teal hands him her card and tells him that she's involved in a project that needs a backer with some balls, and that's how he got the card. In the present, Hank's clone Henry is up and moving around, and Kenton is connecting his voice modulator. At the same time, Garth is helping Manuela practice walking, and she jokingly says that she should be worried about what things her husband will say when he can finally speak. I should note that Manuela talks in a slightly different way than Molly. Her intellect shines through as she uses a highly articulate vocabulary. Garth says that at least Henry looks happy and remarks how much progress they've both made. He also admits to being a big fan of hers. As a fellow Latin American, he had someone to look up to in the same field. Manuela thanks Garth for his kindness and jokes that if only she was 40 years younger, single, and anatomically functional. Henry then wheels up behind them and jump scares Garth as he practically yells his wife's name with his new voice modulator. In the past, Hank, Cliff, and Dell sit down to watch the Slain movie, and Hank is pretty excited about it. Apparently, he found a director that he thinks really gets it. Plus, if this thing goes well, he could invest the money into Vaya's upgrade cell project, something Cliff is pretty suspicious of. Well, it looks like he ended up making the movie, and this is how he was able to fund the project. Back in the present, the scrawny Hank calls Cliff from the facility and speaks vaguely as he doesn't know whether his calls are recorded. He tells Cliff that things are really surreal right now, but he just needs some time to figure it all out. He hangs up when he looks over to find Molly in frustrated tears. She says she can't even understand her own research and that she's worried her memory and cognitive ability will never come back. Hank hugs her and tells her that they're not finished yet. Meanwhile, Kenton talks to Dr. Teal on a video call. He asks her if she can imagine how it must feel to look in the mirror and have the side of your own face make you want to end it all. Of course, he's talking about his sister Lena and tells Teal that he can't keep stringing her along. It seems like he's asking if she can introduce Lena to the clones, and makes the case it would be good for them to see that someone can live a good life with a severe deformity. Dr. Teal questions whether Lena is really a shining example of a good life, which causes things to get heated, but finally it's decided that she can meet meet the clones. Next, we actually see Lena for the first time, or at least her back. Bianca is brushing her hair out by the creek, and it's clear even from behind that Lena is missing a significant part of her head. She doesn't really say anything at first, and Bianca talks about how she has a big crush on Garth, but doesn't know the right time to tell him. Finally, Lena begins to speak, using a speech generation device much like Stephen Hawking, and tells Bianca that tomorrow she'll be meeting the Nonners. She stands up to leave, and we can now see that more than her face is deformed, her leg is in pretty bad shape as well. Part 5. Henry's physical therapy is
she came out horrible, but not as horrible as these two.
Going really well, and he could almost walk like normal. Hank asks him about his hip, and Henry says that it's fine. The lifetime of miscellaneous injuries happened to Hank's body, not his. He adds that his arthritis is gone as well, and he feels invincible. Hank looks a little irritated and says, "You don't look invincible to me, you look like a potato." Henry responds that he never was particularly attractive anyway, but at least now he has the wit for a clever retort if someone makes an attempt to insult him. This is such a weird scenario, the two versions of Hank passive-aggressively insulting each other. Nearby, Manuela and Molly sit side by side and agree that their headaches feel much better when they're near each other. Manuela talks about how intelligent she's become, to the point that it's actually terrible in many ways. Molly, ever the sweetheart, brought Manuela some personal belongings to try and make her feel more comfortable. There's an old journal, clothes, and a picture of Dell. Manuela's almost brought to tears at her counterpart's kindness and asks her about Dell. Molly says she just spoke to her on the phone, and Manuela wants to know every little detail. In a meeting with Dr. Teal and Garth, Kenton says that Hank and Molly have extensive permanent memory loss and severely impaired motor skills, and unfortunately they are unlikely to improve. The team decides not to tell Hank and Molly this, as it could only make things worse. On the other hand, other than appearances, it seems the upgrade cell process was a complete success when it comes to Henry and Manuela. They've turned out better than even their most optimistic projections. They have enhanced immunity to disease, increased muscle strength, stamina, and all-around health. Despite these results, Dr. Teal says based on how they look, they can't go public with this. The whole point of the project was to give Lena a physically normal life. What if she'd come out more disfigured than she already is? Kenton argues that the other benefits more than compensate for looks. They continue arguing until Garth cuts in. He mentions the neuropathy problem. He says that there seems to be continuous retrocognitive information transfer between counterparts and that this results in a physiological codependency. In other words, the subjects and their clones seem to have a mental connection, and being apart causes severe and physical distress, which gets worse the further away they are. Dr. Teal is pissed that they didn't mention this before and tells them to study the phenomenon closely, but Kenton dismisses the separation issue, saying that they don't even have a way of really measuring it. Meanwhile, in a pretty funny scene, Henry says he's been wanting to see how these bodies perform in a more intimate series of tests.
No!
He strips naked and lays on the bed as if he's about to be painted like a festival. Manuela isn't all that into it, and Henry goes even further, saying that he finds himself quite attracted to her new look and feels liberated from pedestrian beauty standards.
Potato love. So about that potato love. Potato love.
He starts putting the moves on Manuela, who's writing at her desk, and she tells him she's just not there yet, which is a good thing as far as I'm concerned, because I'm not sure I really want to see a giant fetus potato sex scene. Instead, they discuss their visitor tomorrow, Carmelina Kalos. They mentioned that Lena...
How much you guys bet if there was LGBT, we will have to watch this? Tell me right now. Be honest. Let's be honest. If these were the two men... I'm pretty sure this will be thrust upon us for like no reason, like The Last of Us. Oh, we could certainly would. Like, look at The Last of Us, season 1. Yes, they will thrust that upon us, and if anyone says anything, you're just a bigot. How dare you not let the potato men have their love?
Is 19, and she's the survivor of a parasitic craniopagus twin, so I guess that's why she's missing much of her head. They speculate on what reason she has to meet them. Manuela wonders if it's just to see how much better off she is for not undergoing the operation herself. Henry, on the other hand, thinks maybe she just wants to meet some people who understand her condition, considering their own disfigurements. Elsewhere, Lena tapes a piece of paper to the wall.
This. When women start talking like this, she's not really into you, bro.
happened to the two versions tour on the he strips naked and lays on the bed as if to beauty standards. He starts putting the moves on Manuela, who's writing at her desk, and she tells him she's just not there yet.
This just tells you everything, that no matter how horrific a dude is, he's willing to give anything a chance, even when he's a potato. He'll have sex with a potato while being a potato, and the female potato says, I don't feel like it. I'm like, oh my god. Like, shit. Like, we're the only two potatoes, and you don't want to at least try? Like, oh my god.
Which is a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Woman moment.
Because I'm not sure I really want to see a giant fetus potato sex scene. Instead, they discuss their visitor tomorrow, Carmelina Kalos. They mention that Lena is 19, and she's the survivor of a parasitic craniopagus twin, so I guess that's why she's missing much of her head. They speculate on what reason she has to meet them. Manuela wonders if it's just to see how much better off she is for not undergoing the operation herself. Henry, on the other hand, thinks maybe she just wants to meet some people who understand her condition, considering their own disfigurements. Elsewhere, Lena tapes a piece of paper to the wall of her room and draws a woman's face on it. She then turns on her lamp and her shadow casts onto the page, who she greets as Constance. Strangely, the page talks back to her, and Lena confides in Constance that she's scared about the meeting tomorrow. Constance only has kind and encouraging words for her and agrees with everything Lena says, like how the Nonners are so selfish for doing the experiment before her. As they talk, Kenton knocks on the door, asking if she's ready, and she says goodbye to the drawing. I guess this is Lena's way of talking to her dead twin that was removed.
Oh,
pretty
she's
sad.
crazy.
As they walk down the hall, Kenton tells
crazy.
Lena she doesn't need to wear her hair down like that. There's nothing to hide today, and hands her a hair tie, saying she looks much prettier with her hair up. They walk out to the back garden where Henry and Manuela sit at a picnic table dressed nicely. Henry introduces himself, and this is the first time we get a really good look at Lena. Not only is she missing part of her head, but this disfigurement spreads into her face where she's missing an eye. She makes a sort of grunt noise, and Kenton explains that her larynx has partially collapsed, so she can't really speak. I guess the voice modulators were actually made for her, but she found them uncomfortable and prefers not to wear them. Henry's being particularly nice to Lena, and
maybe if they use some stem cells, they can actually fix her side of her face. You really think if they're willing to do all this, might also use some stem cells just to see if it can like reconstruct her face back, but you know.
Offers her a cookie that he baked himself, something he learned to do exceptionally fast with his new intellect. It's a strange and awkward scene watching the girl and the two clones share a cookie on a beautiful day. As they do, Lena notices that Manuela is wearing her butterfly hair clip, something she comments on using her speech generator. Manuela explains that her brother lent it to her on Lena's behalf and thanks her for the generosity. They continue talking, and we find out that Lena enjoys drawing, especially faces. Henry jumps in, saying, "Of course you do. A face as stunning as yours must be constant inspiration." This makes everyone at the table kind of uncomfortable, but it seems like Henry really does find the girl quite attractive. Meanwhile, Cliff makes a call to his ex-wife, asking if she can watch Dell. You get the impression she doesn't spend much time with her own daughter. The reason Cliff needs a babysitter is because he plans on heading up to the facility to see what's going on with Hank and Molly. At this point, he's afraid they're in danger and plans on rescuing them. Part 6. The weeks have gone by, and Henry and Lena have gotten on pretty well and are spending a lot of time together. As they hang out in the gym, Lena can't stop looking at Henry's head. We can see why, as he has a large pair of realistic-looking human ears strapped to it. He explains that his own ears have not fully formed and that the cartilage pattern of the ears is actually important to hearing. Lena comments on how real they look, but he assures her that looks have nothing to do with it. He simply wants to live life to the fullest. It's clear that Henry doesn't care about what his body looks like, and in fact seems proud of it. With a smirk, Lena pulls off her nose, which I guess is just a realistic prosthetic, and they both start laughing. Henry says he was worried that she would have animosity toward them for getting the operation first, and she says that she did until she got to look at them. Henry then talks about the absurdity of the very concept of normal.
Oh, this is horrible. You're a horrible lady. It's like, I thought you were going to hate me because I had the operation. Oh, I did, but you look like a potato, so that just makes it all okay. It's like, okay. All right, I guess that works.
The arrogance of people who take pride in being normal, and the absurdity of caring what people think of you. Lena bluntly says that he cares what she thinks, and he agrees, but that's because he likes her and wants her to like him. He then apologizes to her for how this was all handled, and hopes that they could become friends. As he says this, he reaches out and grabs her hands.
Oh, we all know where this is going.
Else in the facility, Hank heads up to the rehab room looking for Henry for their scheduled play date, which is a way of helping with the headaches from separation. Instead, he finds confronts Manuela, who says that Henry is off with Lena. She seems to know that they've taken a liking to each other and calls it a symbiosis of ego. Hank is pissed about how his counterpart's acting and is forced to sit down when his head starts hurting badly. He also tells Manuela that Molly isn't taking this well and says he hasn't seen her this depressed in a long time, and alludes to some traumatic event that happened to her years ago. He also seems to be harboring a lot of resentment towards his counterpart, asking what's the point of him when Henry's around. He feels like he's becoming obsolete. Manuela says that he's still Hank Nonner, but that's not who she sees when she looks at Henry. When she looks in a mirror, she doesn't see Molly either. She tells Hank he's not made obsolete by Henry, but instead validated by him. When she looks at Hank, she still sees the man that she fell in love with 45 years ago. Back in their cabin, Hank finds Molly making a collage for Dell. He embraces her and tells her how much he loves her and how lucky he is to have her just the way she is. They hold each other on the bed, and it's a pretty heartwarming moment. That afternoon, Kenton finds Lena baking a pie for Henry, and she confesses that she has feelings for Henry. Her brother is obviously concerned. He's glad she's having fun, but tells her that it's not a good idea to get attached like this. She just ignores him and smiles, then asks him if he's ever been in love. Okay. There are just so many issues with this situation, like the fact that Henry is mentally an old man and Lena's only 19. Although, I guess technically Henry's only a couple of months old, but he's also married. Well, I guess he and Manuela were never really married because they're clones, but they have the memories of a couple who was married for 45 years.
Well, this is a mix of emotions and problems that should not be.
It's complicated, but all I'm saying is this is really weird, and I don't like it. On their own codependent playdate, Manuela and Molly discuss the situation. Molly can't understand why Manuela isn't heartbroken, or at least a little jealous, but she says that it must be an emotional thing that she's just advanced past. Well, Molly hasn't, and even though this is her husband's clone, she finds herself tossing and turning each night with jealousy. Manuela explains it like this: Molly clearly doesn't view Henry as her husband, so why does she expect Manuela to? Whoever Henry is now, it's not the same Hank from all of the memories that Manuela has.
I guess that makes sense. They're not even the original, so I guess it makes it a little more easier to understand in that sense, because if you're not the original, it kind of, you know, it'll cause more problems anyway. So I guess in a weird way, they just have the memories, like you said, from a old married couple, but they're not really them, I guess.
An interesting point that even gives Molly pause. Manuela then hands Molly the notebook she gave her back and says that this time it's a gift from her, though she tells Molly not to open it until she wakes up from this nightmare. Okay, well that's kind of eerie and cryptic.
What does that
They change
mean?
the subject and start talking about Dell. Manuela wants to know how she's doing, and Molly gets an idea. They go back to the cabin and Molly calls up Dell and then hands the phone to Manuela. She's hesitant but starts talking to her niece for the first time since before the operation. Technically the first time ever, actually. As they have a simple
Yes, I've seen it, but I haven't seen the show yet. I haven't seen the English version yet. I don't know if the English version is out yet, but I know the sub is out, and I've been seeing memes of it from all types of directions. Oh, Jesus.
Conversation you might normally find between an old aunt and her niece, Manuela breaks down into tears just at hearing Dell's voice. That night, Kenton wakes up to several alarms going off and sprints into the main building. Garth meets him and says that something's happened in the ICU. At the same time, Hank comes into the hall and says that something's wrong with Molly, but first they need to see what's happened in the ICU. When they get there, smoke is pouring out and they find a horrific sight. It seems that Manuela used one of the incubators as a means to burn herself alive. We can see her small bloody hand press against the glass as she dies. Realizing what's happened, the staff immediately run back to Molly.
Whoa, back up. I was not paying attention. Go back.
Time since before the operation. Technically the first time ever, actually. As they have a simple conversation you might normally find between an old aunt and her niece, Manuela breaks down into tears just at hearing Dell's voice. That night, Kenton wakes up to several alarms going off and sprints into the main building. Garth meets him and says that something's happened in the ICU. At the same time, Hank comes into the hall and says that something's wrong with Molly, but first they need to see what's happened in the ICU. When they get there, smoke is pouring out and they find a horrific sight. It seems that Manuela used one of the incubators as a means to burn herself alive. We can see her small bloody hand press against the glass as she dies. Realizing what's happened, the staff immediately run back to Molly, who's fallen into a comatose state, and it's no coincidence that this seems connected to Manuela's death. Everyone's in a full-blown panic as Henry shows up and locks eyes with Hank. Part Part 7. This chapter starts with a montage of Manuela's funeral, her gravestone being placed in the ground, and Molly still stuck in a coma. In a meeting with Hank and Henry, Kenton explains what they've discovered about the separation issues between the subject and clone. Calling it the doppelganger effect, they explain that when two brains emit an identical frequency, the result is a negative feedback loop that persists as long as both brains are alive. The further away the frequencies are, the more out of sync they get, resulting in negative symptoms. However, they've now discovered that these symptoms also arise over time as the two entities become distinct with their own sets of unique experiences. Right now, the only thing Hank and Henry can do is try and stay close together to negate the effects as long as possible. It seems that if the counterparts...
Well, he's totally a free man at this point, because his wife is technically dead, so he can do whatever he wants now.
Get too far away from each other, they could die. Garth mentions that they observed these same issues with the dogs, Aiko and Biko. Hearing this, Hank comes to the realization that they misled them. If this happened with the dogs, why didn't they tell him and his wife about it? He rages out and then ends up in tears over what's happened to Molly. Kenton just tells Hank and Henry that they'll need to learn to cohabitate for now. Later, Henry visits Manuela's grave along with Lena. He tells her that they had a daughter once upon a time, but she died in a house fire and it was extremely difficult to work through, especially for Molly. This must have been the trauma that Hank was referencing earlier. They had hoped that if the operation was successful, they may get a chance to start over and maybe try to have a family again. He then says that the day before she died, Manuela told him she didn't love him anymore and that he wasn't the same person she fell in love with. He admits that he feels the same way. Manuela was not the same woman that he loved. Hearing this, Lena tells him that there are some people who love him. She leans in and gives him a kiss, but then immediately cringes in embarrassment. Henry tells her not to be embarrassed and that he felt a connection to her since they first met. He feels like it's gonna be the two of them against the world. They embrace and he tells her that he's afraid the condition that keeps him and Hank connected is going to kill them both unless one of them sacrifices themselves. He doesn't want to die. He wants a life and he wants it to be with Lena.
Wait, but bro, if you're thinking of killing the old man, it doesn't make a lot of sense because like it might put you in a coma. So that's your plan. That's not going to work.
To kiss each other, and from behind a tree we can see that Bianca is watching from afar. Garth has made some new discoveries about the feedback loop and thinks that maybe it's not two frequencies, but that only the original specimen is generating one. Before he can explain more, Kenton throws his clipboard at him and tells him to drop it. It's a waste of time. Just then, Henry shows up and has some questions for the doctor, though it's not what you'd expect. First of all, he says he's actually quite happy with his body, but it's developmentally only mature to the point of infancy. He just cuts to the chase and asks how he could attain functioning genitalia so that he can live a more fulfilled life. Surgery, hormone therapy, he just wants to know what his options are. Jeez, not only did his wife just die, but now he's basically asking the doctor if he can help him have sex with his sister. What the hell? In the cafeteria, Lena is eating alone when Bianca comes in to talk to her. It looks like Lena has decided to try the voice modulator again since she feels she has so much to say these days. Bianca wastes no time talking to her about Henry and tells her she needs to be careful or she'll get hurt. Lena snaps at her, saying Bianca has all this pride just because she thinks she's the normal one. She extends this hostility to her brother, who she says made this whole thing because he doesn't think she's good enough the way she is. Eventually, she breaks down completely, and Bianca comforts her, but says that there's something she has to tell her. When Bianca first started working here, Dr. Kalos asked her something that made her pretty uncomfortable. He asked her if she would be willing to donate some of her eggs. Apparently, this is because the clone source cell is injected into a donor egg. Lena is stunned when she puts two and two together and wonders, does this mean that Bianca is like Henry's mom? Bianca says that she actually said no, but here comes the big reveal. Since Lena was constantly undergoing tests and procedures because of her own disability, her brother went ahead and took her eggs thinking she wouldn't mind or notice. Lena breaks into tears.
Wait, back up.
Big reveal. Since Lena was constantly undergoing tests and procedures because of her own disability, her brother went ahead and took her eggs thinking she wouldn't mind or notice. Lena breaks into tears as she realizes what this means. So just to recap, as far as I can gather, Lena's eggs were taken for the upgrade cell, meaning in some kind of weird way, she's Henry's mother.
Oh no! Oh no! No! What? Oh, bro, I thought it was just kind of weird with the whole, like, he's an old dude, he's a fetus potato thing with the implanted mind of, like, that of a husband. I thought that was... Oh, bro. Why do we have to do this? Why do we always have to go down the family tree nonsense? This is crazy. Every time. Like, it reminds me of that episode of... it reminds me of the show of Dark. For those who ever seen that. Have you seen Dark? Pretty good show. I think it's better than Stranger Things. The ending was rushed. As much as I hate that part. Just like Stranger Things, it was rushed, but it was good. Yep.
Adding the cherry on top of this fucked up relationship. Part 8. Hank and Henry are arguing about Slain. Henry criticizes it for lacking any thematic cohesion and says the racial allegory isn't the bold statement it once was. Hank defends it and says that the new Slain movie did quite well, but Henry retorts that it was drivel and the character is irrelevant these days. Hank says just because you're not black anymore doesn't mean you get the luxury of forgetting the struggle. And Henry replies that it's debasing to define their identity solely by their contrast to the white man. This just makes Hank even angrier, and Henry continues to be condescending to the old man. Suddenly, Hank is hit with a severe headache, and Henry just calmly asks if it's getting worse, and then says that he doubts Hank will survive much longer. The cold and careless way Henry says this is pretty creepy. He then adds that he doesn't think Hank would even be able to survive the effects of his death. Hank says that it doesn't matter, he's not giving up. Henry begins to leave the room, and Hank says that their time isn't up yet, but Henry just leaves anyway. As Henry walks down the hall putting on his ears, he hears a heated discussion from Dr. Callis's office. It looks like Cliff has arrived, and he's not happy about what's going on here, demanding that he see his brother immediately. Henry then casually strolls into the office, which of course comes as quite a shock to Cliff. He tries to convince Cliff that he is his older brother, Hank. Cliff just turns to Kenton and asks, "What have you done?" He says they won't get away with this and tells them they're all going to jail. Henry tries to calm him down, but Cliff just starts to leave to get the authorities. Before he makes it to the door, however, Henry closes it and blocks his path. He then grabs Cliff by the leg and squeezes it with his enhanced strength. Cliff howls in pain, and blood begins to cover his leg as Henry sinks his fingers in. This causes Cliff to pass out, and Henry yells at Kenton to sedate him, telling him it's their only option now. Jesus Christ. At the same time, Lena is walking through the building looking for Henry when she finally hears a commotion in one of the medical rooms, as well as seeing blood in the hallway. Inside, Henry and Kenton are arguing about what to do with Cliff when Henry spots Lena standing outside. He rushes over and closes the door behind him, then lies to her, saying it's no big deal, it's just Hank who collapsed and needs rest. Lena asks him about some plan that they previously discussed and whether he's gonna finally go through with it. Henry says that he tried to talk to her brother about it, but he won't budge. We then learn exactly what they're talking about when Lena says that if Hank needs to die for Henry to live, then he knows what to do. She's basically asking him to kill Hank and is pissed that he hasn't done it yet. Henry says he just can't bring himself to do it as it would be like killing himself, and breaks down into tears. There's something about the way he does this that is kind of manipulative to me, but I'm not sure if it's entirely disingenuous or not. Outside, the snow's begun to fall, and Garth visits Bianca at her cabin. Apparently, she had dropped her troll doll, and Biko got a hold of it, so now it's all mangled and deformed. Garth notices that Bianca is packing, and she admits that she just can't stay here anymore with everything going on. Apparently, the other staff have left as well, and Bianca suggests that Garth do the same thing. Garth is unsure what to do when Bianca grabs him by the hand and just says outright that she likes him. She doesn't want to see Kenton take Garth down with him, and she suggests that they leave together. Later, in Lena's room, she's all dressed up and has another discussion with Constance. She says that she's all grown up now and has to move on from all this, and that includes moving on from Constance. Constance, as usual, completely agrees with everything Lena says and encourages her to do what she has to.
It's not like ChatGPT, it just affirms everything you say.
Says goodbye to her sister and tears the piece of paper off the wall. In the facility,
that's a medical breakthrough. That's like, you know how many people it takes so long for someone just to like, you know what, I'm gonna stop talking to the thing in front of me and I'm just making it affirm everything I say. You know how long years of breaking that takes? She just kind of figured that out on her own. Oh my God.
Hank is about to make his way up the hallway stairs when he spots Henry at the top. Henry tells Hank to just give it up already, but he tells him that Molly and him did this so that they could live longer, and he's not giving up his life for Henry or anyone. He asks Henry what kind of life he could even live. and then he's hit with a brutal headache. Hank continues, accusing Henry of only being with Lena as a bargaining tool, as Kenton won't let Henry die when he's got his sister. Henry says he knows that there's practically nothing left of Hank Nonner in Hank's head. He then proves his point by asking him what he remembers. Does he remember being a boy? Does he remember their dad's best friend, Henry Gold, whom they were named after? Hank has trouble bringing the name to mind, but says that memory isn't all of who he is. However, Henry tells him that those memories are with him now. Hank Nonner is in his head. Hank is enraged and calls Henry a monster, climbing the stairs and reaching for him. However, Hank slips in the process and falls down the stairs, twisting his ankle and breaking his arm.
No, that's Family Guy death. That's a Family Guy death.
As he lay with blood dripping from his face, he asks Henry to help him. Henry simply says he's not a monster and leaves as Hank lay dying on the floor. Part 9. In his office, Dr. Kalos talks on the phone to Victoria Teal. Despite his protests, she tells him it's over and she's shutting down any further research on the upgrade cell. He hangs up the phone in anger just as Henry shows up. Kenton says he's glad to see a friendly face. He complains about how hard it is to accomplish something when people fight you every step of the way, but says it's worth it to see Henry here, a brilliant human being with feelings and dreams. He then toots his own horn and says that it's great knowing that he's the one who's responsible for creating such a thing. He tells Henry he's proud of him and Lena and is happy for them. Henry says he's looking forward to starting a life with her, but can't do that if he's dead. Kenton says that they have some ideas to solve the feedback loop and that there's still time, but Henry explains that there really isn't, given the fact that Hank is lying at the bottom of some stairs severely injured. Kenton panics and starts to leave.
What?
Henry stops him and says that no one would question it if these injuries ended up being fatal. He tries to convince Kenton to just let Hank die, but the doctor denies this. He goes even further, saying that Henry will have to remain hidden from the public. Hank and Molly could recover and return to their lives, but Henry can't leave. It seems Kenton has decided that Henry is the one who must die. Henry bluntly tells him that he won't be killed and angrily takes off his fake ears. Kenton tries to rationalize with him, saying that it's no different than putting down any other failed specimen and that ultimately he's just a copy. He's not the real Hank Nonner. This triggers Henry, who leaps up and grabs Kenton by the mouth. Then with a sickening crack, closes his grip, crushing the doctor's jaw in his fist. It's absolutely brutal and one of the most unpleasant images in this comic. The doctor falls to the floor with a thud, and Henry runs out of the room. It seems this didn't kill Kenton, however, as he reaches out for the phone. Out back, Garth has helped Bianca move out all of her belongings, and he hears the phone ring, but ignores it as he locks up and heads out. Next, we see Cliff, still unconscious, in the hospital bed when the door slowly opens and Lena walks in. She speaks to Cliff, assuming it to be Hank, as Henry told her, and doesn't know the difference since she's never actually met the real Nonners. She tells him that she's met his counterpart and says he's a great person, and more so, he's her family now. She talks about the value of family and how a good person will do anything for them. She then pulls out a vial and says this is what they use to put down the other specimens. She says it'll be painless and apologizes as she starts to administer the arsenide. Hoping this will mean that Henry and her can start their new life together, Lena kills Cliff, who she believes is actually Hank. Afterwards, Lena finds Henry outside and tells him what she's done. She's in shambles over the fact that she just took a human life, and Henry is overjoyed, thinking that she killed the real Hank and that it had no effect on him after all. The two decide that they need to leave, considering what they've both done. Inside, Hank is still alive at the bottom of the stairs and pulls himself up. As he struggles to stand, he's hit with a horrible headache. This is because Henry and Lena have taken Kenton's Jeep and are leaving the area. As they get further away down the road, Henry is now hit with a terrible pain as well. In a panic, he tells Lena that something is wrong and they need to turn around, but she tells him that it's time they take control of their lives and keeps on driving. Back in the facility, the mangled Hank has gotten to his feet and climbed the stairs in search of Dr. Kalos, but the waves of separation pain are getting stronger and send him to his knees. Back in the Jeep, Henry tells Lena that Hank must not be dead, and blood starts dripping from his ears and nose. The pain is overwhelming, but Lena tells him that she watched Hank die and to quit acting like a baby. Finally, Henry reaches for the steering wheel, and in a struggle, the Jeep goes off-road and crashes into a ditch. In a daze, Lena looks over to find that Henry is completely motionless. Back at the facility, however, the original Hank is still moving and has slowly made his way to Molly's room, where he lays beside her. It then cuts back to the past one last time, to the day that Hank and Molly are getting the operation. They have a lighthearted conversation about how nervous they are, but Hank smiles smiles, thinking everything is about to change for them. As they're put under, Hank tells Molly he loves her one last time, and although we can't hear it, she seems to say the same thing before drifting off. It cuts back to Hank laying next to Molly and holding her hand as he loses consciousness. Covered in snow, Lena has walked back to the facility and finds her brother collapsed on the ground. She tells him it'll be alright, and then we get a quick montage of the crashed Jeep being pulled from the ditch, and another gravestone being added next to Manuela's. It seems that Henry wasn't able to survive the separation after all. Next, we see Molly, who's woken up from her coma. She's in a meeting with Lena and Kenton, though Kenton can't speak because of his jaw injury. Lena tells Molly that her non-disclosure agreement forbids her from saying anything about Upgrade Cell, as well as Henry and Manuela. She then apologizes for what happened to Cliff, saying that Kenton has confessed to accidentally euthanizing him and will likely face jail time. Damn, that means that Lena convinced her own brother that he killed Cliff on accident. Molly takes all of this in, but simply asks if she's free to go. As she packs up her and Hank's things in the cabin, Molly comes upon the notebook that Manuela returned to her. She reads it and discovers that Manuela actually figured it all out long before she died. Because of her vast intellect, she understood what was really going on with the doppelganger effect and realized that only one could live between them. So she sacrificed herself to let Molly live. Lena walks Molly outside to her cab and says that she's sorry about how everything turned out. She then gives her a parting gift, a drawing of Manuela. Lena tells her that sometimes she might want to even speak to her, implying that Molly may do the same thing with this picture of Manuela as Lena had done with her sister Constance. She ends by saying, "This whole thing was pretty messed up, but at least some good came from it, right?" I think she's being genuine
Like
here,
what?
but after everything that happened, I
What?
just
Like
really
what?
don't like this chick. Molly returns home, and the next day she heads to Dell's house to visit her. It's the first time we've seen Molly smile in quite a while, but it's kind of sad actually. It's been a year, but Dell doesn't really have a big reaction to seeing her aunt. Instead, she's kind of shy, saying that Molly looks different. She gives Molly a hug and
Like,
then
she
just
said, what good came from this? The only thing that happens is you surviving this horrible ordeal. I don't know what good you're talking about. Yeah.
goes back to her toys. I actually think this is touching on a very realistic aspect of children. Dell's mom assures Molly that she did miss her even if she isn't acting like it, and Molly takes Dell with her to run some errands. In the car, Dell's pretty quiet, and Molly tells her that things won't ever be the same as they were before, but they can still be happy. She takes Dell to a hospital, and they enter a room to see Hank, who is shockingly still alive. It looks like Hank survived the separation, but is now in a coma, much like Molly was after the death of Manuela. Dell asks if he's gonna get better like Molly did, and she says, yeah, he will. Dell hugs her Uncle Hank, even though he's still unconscious, and asks Molly if they could play scientist again someday. To which Molly replies, brilliant suggestion, Doctor. And that, my friends, is the end of Upgrade Soul. This comic wrestles with some deep and complicated topics like identity, the finite existence of humans, and the standards of normalcy. What I like about it is that it feels like a thought experiment that any sci-fi fan has run through. What would happen if you were cloned and that clone had an identical memory to yours? Are they any less human? And what if they were better than you in every way? Would you feel obsolete? The sci-fi aspects are compelling, but the real human emotions are what carry the story. Anyway, I could talk about it all day, but what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Shout out to Kill Me Katie, as always, for the intro and outro music, which is likely playing right now. And if you want to see...
I think Grief does a great job at narrating these. Let me give you a good scope of what's happening. Alright, let me see. No one... Alright, so pretty much, I'm going to be honest with you, we're pretty much done at this point. I finished Simu. So... yeah, we're pretty much done at this point. They're done. I just need to put in the eyes and stuff and the beads. And then she's done. Pretty much. Yeah. And the belt. The belt and the thing. That'll be pretty much done. And then that's it. So with that said, I'm going to let you guys go a little early. I know it's 7:12, but I need to get some stuff done. Some personal stuff with the family. So I'm going to let you guys go. Have a great night. I do appreciate every last guy. Yeah, I gotta get some stuff done. Do take care. Okay, thank you, Soph. I appreciate every last one of you guys. We had fun making this. Alright, so I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We also finished the commission as well. Hope you guys enjoyed that too. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See you guys tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Monday? No, Sunday. Tomorrow's Sunday. So on Sunday, we're gonna finish this off completely. I think we have one last character left. We have Simu, we have Rio, we have Engine, and we did Rito and Zonka. The only one that's left is the Delman. I forgot his name. The big one with the giant arms. And then we'll be done. All right, later, guys. Have a great night. See you guys tomorrow. Laters.